Chapter 799. When the others saw the Wind King's death, their faces all changed and they all retreated. Tang Jing glanced at the crowd and rushed towards the end of the tunnel with Marshall. The Wind King had rushed out from there, so maybe Suing Tian was there. The people around could not resist the order and rushed over while shouting. Puff puff puff. The war spirit sword flashed and the people in front fell to the ground. Blood splattered everywhere and formed a river. Tang Zhang and Marshall rushed through the tunnel like a whirlwind and arrived at the basement. In front of them was a mess. The ground and walls were filled with traces of battle and mottled with blood. You killed all my soldiers. I will perish together with you. Su Yingtian's heart-wrenching voice faintly sounded out. Tang Zhang and Marshall looked at each other and their hearts skipped a beat. Suing Tian was not dead, but the situation was not optimistic. His men were all dead. Bang! Tang Jing flew and kicked a huge iron door, causing it to fall to the ground. The smell of blood assailed his nostrils, causing him to involuntarily cough. Tang Jing quickly locked onto Suing Tian, who was heavily surrounded. He was fighting a bloody battle. His clothes were already dyed red with blood and he was riddled with wounds. He was in a sorry state, like a trapped beast. There were quite a few people on the ground. There were soldiers from the National Security Bureau and also people from the Dragon Group. The one leading the attack was the Water King. Suing Tian was already exhausted. If not for his tenacious willpower, he would have already fallen. He clenched his teeth and his eyes almost popped out. Even if he died, he would remember these people's hateful faces. In his next life, he would also take revenge. His heart was bleeding. It was worse than death. Previously, he had led his subordinates back to the National Security Bureau headquarters. The guard had lied and said that the leader wanted to meet them. The group of people were brought to the basement and he finally discovered something strange. At this time, the enemy suddenly attacked. They were caught off guard, and were caught completely off guard. Their casualties were disastrous, but no one cowered. Instead, they continued to persevere, fighting until their last breath. Suing Tian already understood that this was a scheme of the Dragon Group's Xing Feng. He was definitely afraid that his misdeeds would be exposed, so he didn't hesitate to kill everyone involved. Such sinister intentions were rarely seen in this world. Suing Tian refused to give up, so he fought back and even asked Tang Jing for help. Seeing the people around him fall down one by one, he felt as if a knife was being twisted in his heart. When he was finally the only one left, he almost despaired. The heavens were blind. Could it be that Xing Feng was allowed to deceive everyone and run amok? He was unwilling to give up. His strong willpower supported him and prevented him from collapsing immediately. He subconsciously counterattacked the attacks coming from all directions. This was the scene that Tang Jing saw. That unyielding body made his heart ache, and a monstrous anger rushed to his brain. He flew into a rage and said, "Go to hell." Shwa shwa shwa. The outermost super soldiers were all struck by the battle soul sword and fell to the ground dead. When the others saw this, they scattered in all directions. The Water King glared and said, "Tang Jing, you didn't die either. I won't die even if you die." Tang Jing said coldly, "Back then, your Dragon Group people escaped, and now you've come to the National Security Bureau. No matter what, you people can forget about leaving this door. Heng heng, you only have 3 people. The entire National Security Bureau headquarters are our people. Who do you think has a higher chance of winning?" The Water King said disdainfully. Tang Jing coldly laughed. "Victory is not decided by the number of people. No matter how many people there are, they are all chickens and dogs, unable to withstand a single blow. Is that so? Then we'll kill you all. Then no one will know what happened on the ocean. Group leader Xing has always wanted you dead. There is a path to heaven, but you don't want to take it. There is no door to hell, but you insist on barging in. Today, I'll let you all perish together. The Water King said arrogantly. Although he had seen Tang Jing fight before, he had never truly fought with him. In his heart, he believed that since he had the advantage in numbers, dealing with Tang Jing would not be a problem. This was not like when they were on the ocean, they had to hide and act quietly. Now, they were brazen and could go all out. Kill. Tang Jing was too lazy to waste words with him. With a loud roar, he rushed forward. Marshall was the same. Every time the fire underworld palm struck a person, their chest would feel like it was on fire. Not only would it cave in, but it would also leave behind a burning handprint. When Suing Tian saw that the reinforcements had arrived, tears almost flowed out of his eyes. He roared, "Tang Jing, kill them all and take revenge for the dead." The Water King blocked Tang Jing. His hands formed claws, and 2 balls of water appeared in his palms. Then, he pushed them forward, and the balls of water transformed into 2 water dragons. One on the left and one on the right, they rushed towards Tang Jing. Tang Jing bellowed. The War Soul Sword released a dazzling light that tangled with the water dragons. Water was the source of all living things and had a myriad of forms. Thus, when the War Soul Sword slashed onto the water dragon did not dissipate. Instead, it wrapped around the War Soul Sword, causing Tang Jing's attack to disappear. His strength is actually higher than the Wind King's. Tang Jing's gaze turned cold. He immediately kept the War Soul Sword back into the Sumra world. He reached out with both hands and grabbed the water dragon. Bang! The water dragon was powerful and heavy, shaking Tang Jing's palm until it seemed like it was about to split open. However, the corner of his mouth hooked up into a smile, and said, "Let's see how much water you can gather." As soon as he finished speaking, a black hole appeared in his palm. Swallowing the Heavens technique. This time, he did not use the Swallowing Heavens technique's absorption technique. Instead, he used the most fundamental power of the Swallowing Heavens technique. With a flash of black light, the roaring water dragon was sucked into the black hole and disappeared. This Water King was stunned for a moment, then said angrily, "What kind of technique is this?" "Swallowing the Heavens technique, it's really a waste of talent to deal with you." Tang Jing rushed forward. Black light flickered in his 2 palms, causing Water King to feel uneasy. The people around Water King roared, "What are you all still standing there for? Watching the show?" Da. The super soldier pulled the trigger, and bullets poured out, all of them heading towards Tang Jing's body. Tang Jing waved his hands, and all the bullets disappeared, swallowed by the Swallowing the Heavens technique. Everyone looked at the black hole in his palm in fear. They didn't know where the bullets were sucked to. Tang Jing couldn't be bothered with the small shrimps. He rubbed his body and pounced towards Water King. Water King condensed another ball of water in his hand. With a flick of his finger, it turned into water droplets that filled the sky. They were like arrows that blotted out the sky, and their power was not to be underestimated. Tang Jing used the same trick again. The black light in his palm shone brightly, and the black hole also expanded a bit. It sucked all the water droplets into the black hole, and then forced the Water King into a corner. Water King was good at using water to attack because he had a way to collect water vapor in the air. Moreover, this water vapor could be recycled and used continuously. Therefore, his attacks could be continuous. Although this basement was humid and there was a lot of water vapor in the air, Tang Jing directly sucked the water into the black hole, and the water vapor in this space suddenly decreased. If the Water King wanted to condense water vapor to attack again, it would be harder than ascending to the sky. The Water King had never encountered such a situation. In the world, water vapor was endless. However, he didn't expect that in this small world, all the water vapor would be sucked away by Tang Jing. He couldn't reuse it at all. Without the water vapor, his strength was like a castle in the air. It looked good, but it was useless. Therefore, when Tang Jing attacked again, he could only use the remaining water vapor in the air to counterattack. 2 egg-sized water balls appeared in his palm. Before he attacked, Tang Zheng's palm was in front of him. With a wave of his hand, the water balls were sucked into the black hole and disappeared without a trace. "You bully!" The Water King wanted to cry, but no tears came out. He was no longer as arrogant as before. This move almost made him collapse. "Not only am I bullying you, but I'm also going to kill you." Tang Zheng's palm hit the Water King's chest. The Water King flew out like a kite with a broken string, landing beside Su Yingtian's feet. Seeing this, Su Yingtian hysterically roared and grabbed the Water King's head. With a crack, he directly twisted the Water King's head off, causing blood to splatter everywhere. Seeing Su Yingtian's crazed and pained appearance, Tang Jing couldn't help but sigh. This time, the blow to Su Yingtian was too big. Not only was his nest taken over, even his last remaining subordinates had died in front of him. This kind of blow was too big. Tang Jing even saw Kai Guibin's body among the pile of corpses. Back then, he was the second in command of the dragon group, but now, he had died at the hands of the dragon group. Xing Feng didn't even let him go. He was truly too vicious. Su Yingtian stared blankly at the bloody head in his hand. As if possessed, he muttered to himself, "Brothers, I've taken revenge for you." After a pause, he continued, "No, I don't have the right to take revenge for you. My greatest enemy is Xing Feng. Only when he's dead can you rest in peace." Su Yingtian had already heard from the Water King that the National Security Bureau had been abolished and merged into the Dragon Group. Now, the Dragon Group was the only one in power. Xing Feng's power had reached an unprecedented peak. Wanting to kill Xing Feng was no longer an easy matter, but for the sake of his fallen brothers, Su Yingtian resolutely decided to get rid of Xing Feng. In the past, he often advised Tang Jing not to lower himself to Xing Feng's level. But now, he felt that those words were bullshit. Xing Feng deserved to die. If he didn't kill him, he wasn't human. His eyes were bloodshot as he looked at the other super warriors. He suddenly threw the head in his hand and roared, "Kill!" Then, he pounced towards them like a madman. He seemed to have regained his fighting strength once again as he killed his enemies until they threw away their armor. The members of the dragon group were like a group of dragons without a leader as they scattered in all directions. Su Yingtian chased after them relentlessly as he roared, "Kill, kill, kill!" Tang Zheng and Marshall did not stop either. These super warriors were no longer true soldiers of the country, but Xing Feng's private army. Moreover, they had killed so many people from the National Security Bureau, so killing them was only right. Under the pursuit of the three of them, most of the super warriors did not manage to escape. In the end, the National Security Bureau's headquarters building was filled with blood and corpses. It was like hell on earth. Su Yingtian stood in the middle of the mountain of corpses and the sea of blood. His entire body seemed to have been fished out of blood. His eyes were lifeless as he looked at everything in front of him, at the building. "Ha ha ha," he laughed, his laughter shaking the heavens. Tang Zheng let out a long sigh. He knew that he had changed, especially when he was chasing after them, not leaving a single one alive. Furthermore, he had killed the most people, and was like a completely different person from before. Chapter 800. Su Yingtian fell into a pool of blood. Tang Jing quickly rushed over and found that he was already on his last breath. In the battle just now, he had overdrawn his life force. After the battle ended, his life force was exhausted and there was no way to save him. Tang Jing did not think that he would be so decisive. He sighed and regretfully said, "Why do you have to do this?" Su Yingtian smiled and weakly said, "The National Security Bureau is my lifeblood. Without it, how can I live in this world?" It's just a pity that I didn't fulfill my oath and didn't kill that traitor Xing Feng. Cough, cough, cough. Suing Tian violently coughed as blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. Don't say any more. I understand. I'll kill Xing Feng. I'll make him pay for the blood of those who died. Tang Zheng said resolutely as he gritted his teeth. Tang Zheng, thank you. This time we made such a big fuss that the higher-ups will definitely blame us. You've been implicated by me. Suing Tian was someone from the government and was very clear about the rules of the government. This time, such a major incident had happened in the capital, and with the involvement of the National Security Agency and the Dragon Group, it was definitely a major event that would shock the entire government. Even if Suing Tian was in the right, he would still be punished. It was because he was clear about this point that he couldn't bear to see his brothers die unjustly. Therefore, he decided to go on a killing spree and use blood to avenge them. Xing Feng will definitely distort black and white. In this aspect, he is much better than you. Therefore, you have to be careful. Not only do you have to be careful of Xing Feng, but you also have to be careful of the government. These words were from the bottom of his heart. Tang Zheng's heart moved as he heavily nodded. Chief Su, don't worry. Xing Feng won't be able to jump around for long. I believe you. It's just that when facing the government, they have to be courteous. After all, they were blinded by Xing Feng. The chief is still a good leader who empathizes with the suffering of the people. Suing Tian was deeply afraid that Tang Zheng would get angry and start a fight with the bureau chief. That would be treason, which would go against Suing Tian's expectations. Moreover, it would also be disadvantageous to Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng nodded. Although there are many dissatisfactions in this country, overall, it is developing in a good direction. This shows that the general direction of the highest leader is right and good overall. It's just that there are too many people who deceive their superiors and deceive their subordinates. Indeed, we can't completely blame the highest-ranking leader. I understand. It's good that you understand. I won't be able to see the day you stand at the top of the world with my own eyes, but I believe that you will definitely reach that step. Farewell. Suing Tian finished speaking and closed his eyes. Chief Su, Chief Su. Tang Zheng called out loudly, but there was no response. He hurriedly finished his life's journey. Tang Zheng's emotions fluctuated and he couldn't help but sigh. He and Suing Tian had known each other for a few months. Although they didn't meet often, the two trusted each other very much and helped each other solve many problems. Seeing Suing Tian's tragic end, Tang Zheng felt both heartache and anger. If Xing Feng didn't get rid of him, who knew who would be the next to suffer? Moreover, Xing Feng already knew that they had survived, so he would definitely do everything he could to get rid of them. The two sides originally maintained a fragile balance. Now that the balance was broken, the conflict between the two heated up sharply and reached a white-hot stage. Either you die, or I die. Tang Zheng put all the bodies of the National Security Bureau's people into Sumra world and then set the place ablaze. The raging fire soared into the sky, and the sirens sounded in the distance. Tang Zheng and Marshall quickly left the scene. A moment later, they arrived at a dense mountain in the suburbs. After burying everyone, they returned to the city. It was early evening, and the city was already under martial law. Every street was filled with armed police officers. There were even many plainclothes officers. They were the super soldiers of the Dragon Group. All the passing cars had to be inspected, and the pedestrians were no exception. Tang Zheng frowned and said, Xing Feng's movements are really fast. He has already set up an inescapable net to search for us. Xing Feng doesn't know how many of us survived. He is most afraid that we will complain to the imperial court. If that happens, his good days will come to an end. Marshall said angrily. Tang Zheng shook his head and said, it's not that simple. You also heard what Chief Su said. If the people at the top know that we are the ones who did this, then we will definitely be punished. Moreover, the people at the top have just entrusted Xing Feng with an important task, so they might not punish him immediately. If that happens, won't people be pointing at us behind our backs and scolding the leader for not being able to see through people? Marshall's eyes lit up and said, "You're saying that although the people at the top know what Xing Feng has done, they might still be indifferent and protect him?" Tang Jing sneered. "Chief Su has been in the official circle all his life. He is blinded by a single leaf and does not see the true face of Lu Shan. As for us outsiders, we can see it the clearest." Marshall asked worriedly, "Since the authorities choose to ignore it, what should we do?" "If the authorities don't want to do it, we'll do it. I don't have as many worries as them," Tang Zheng said with killing intent. In the past, the reason why he did not kill Xing Feng was because of his status as an official. If he killed him, it would cause the officials to be dissatisfied and even attack him. In addition, Su Yingtian repeatedly dissuaded him, causing him to temporarily give up on the idea, and both sides were at peace. But now, Su Yingtian was dead, and Tang Zheng had guessed that the authorities might do something, so he could not just ignore it and wait for death. He had to take action. Getting rid of Xing Feng was a top priority. However, since Chief Su has given us the order, we should consider it as completing his last wish. I will first make a trip to the inner palace and see what the authorities say. Tang Zheng changed his tone and said, "You're going to the inner palace at night?" Tang Zheng nodded. "I've been there twice, so I'm not unfamiliar with it." "Didn't you say that there are experts in the inner palace?" Marshall asked worriedly. Tang Zheng said resolutely, "Even if there are experts, I will still go. Moreover, I am already at the 4th stage of the Golden Core stage, which is equivalent to the 4th stage of the Great Master stage. Even if I were to break into the inner palace at night, I would still have the ability to protect myself." Seeing him so confident, Marshall could only agree and did not forget to remind him, "Then you should be more careful. Why don't you go home first?" "No, I want to go with you. I'll wait for you nearby. If anything happens, I'll support you," Wu Jian said. Tang Jing squeezed her hand and squeezed out a smile. "Don't worry, it'll be fine." In the night, the two of them passed through layers of checkpoints and finally arrived near the mysterious courtyard. Tang Zheng wanted to break into this courtyard to find the chief and report to him about Xing Feng's actions. Under the night sky, the courtyard was exceptionally quiet. It was completely different from the hustle and bustle of the capital, as if it had come to another world. However, there were endless dangers hidden in the silence. Tang Zheng did not climb over the wall. Instead, he soared into the air and steered the War Soul sword to sneak in from a high altitude. The sky was dark, which coincidentally gave Tang Zheng the best camouflage. He landed on the roof without anyone noticing, and even his breathing did not make the slightest sound. At this moment, his nerves were already on high alert. The slightest movement could cause a group of people to attack him. The hidden experts of the inner palace would definitely kill him indiscriminately. After all, there were not many good people who broke into the inner palace at night. Most of them were assassins, and assassins who did not know the immensity of heaven and earth. Tang Zheng could already clearly feel a few powerful auras lurking in the dark. He carefully avoided the other party and jumped down from the roof. In a flash, he moved along the eaves. The courtyard was not too big, so he did not have to search too hard to find the chief's location. It was easy to say, but in reality, only he knew how many hardships and dangers were hidden. If he had not been here before, he would have been completely in the dark. Moreover, he had to avoid the detection of the experts of the inner palace, which was even more difficult. He gently pushed open the window. Creak. The window made an extremely soft sound. "Shit!" He secretly shouted, but did not stop his actions. Instead, he bent his waist and went in through the window. He happened to see the chief sitting behind the desk with his head lowered, reading a book. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Outside the house, a few strong winds blew in from all directions. Tang Jing strode to the desk. The chief coincidentally raised his head. After seeing Tang Jing, a look of surprise flashed across his face. "Chief!" A voice called out from outside the house. Tang Jing nervously looked at the chief. If he were to call for help, then he would be taken hostage today. The chief's expression quickly returned to normal. He sternly said, "It's okay, you may leave." "Chief, someone entered your house." The person outside was obviously not at ease. "Leave, this is an order." The chief's tone became more serious. The person outside did not dare to disobey and retreated. However, Tang Jing still felt that they only took a few steps back. They could attack or retreat. If there was another emergency, they would definitely break in without hesitation. "Tang Jing, why are you here?" The chief frowned and asked. Tang Jing was surprised and said, "You know I'm not dead." The chief nodded and said, "I didn't know at first. I only found out today." Xing Feng reported it. Xing Feng. A murderous look flashed across Tang Jing's eyes. The person outside the house clearly felt the murderous look and was ready to make a move. The chief also sensed it and frowned even more. He directly asked, "Why did you come to see me in the middle of the night?" Tang Jing looked at him suspiciously, and said, "Since Xing Feng came to find you, then did he say anything about me?" He was testing the other party, or perhaps Xing Feng knew a lot about him. Of course he did. "Not only you, but also Suing Tian. The nature of what you did today is too bad." The chief's tone became even more serious. He placed his hands on the desk and was imposing without being angry. If it was anyone else who saw this kind of superior attitude and aura, they would definitely be scared speechless. However, Tang Jing had the dragon chi and dragon might. If he were to explode out, even the other party would not be able to help but tremble, so how could he be afraid? Chapter 801. The bureau chief looked at Tang Jing and didn't answer the question directly. Instead, he asked, "Then, do you think I should believe him?" "If it's a foolish person, he will naturally believe it. If it's a wise person, he will scoff at it," Tang Jing said bluntly. Other people would be in awe of high-ranking officials, but Tang Jing was already holding back his anger. He didn't hold back at all when he spoke. The bureau chief's eyelids twitched and returned to normal. He said earnestly, "Tang Jing, things aren't as simple as you think. You're too young." Tang Jing curled his lips and sneered. "Then, you don't believe me. So what if I believe you?" The bureau chief stared at Tang Jing with a burning gaze. "If you believe me, then kill Xing Feng and take revenge for those who died unjustly," Tang Jing said firmly. The bureau chief chuckled. "Is this the result you want? The heavens are clear. Xing Feng brought this upon himself. Why can't I?" Tang Jing retorted. "The heavens, hee." The bureau chief laughed meaningfully. "Ask Suing Tian to come and see me. I'll tell him that I'll return everything he lost to him." The government didn't know that Suing Tian was already dead. Tang Zhang's expression darkened. "He's dead. Greater than over equal to, dead." The bureau chief was stunned. Xing Feng's report was that Suing Tian and his gang attacked the dragon team and escaped after killing and arson. Yes, it's all Xing Feng's fault. So, I must get justice for him. Tang Zhang's gaze was firm. The bureau chief was slightly moved. "Nonsense. A bunch of people are fooling around. We're all from the same root. Why are you in such a hurry to kill each other?" The bureau chief slammed the desk and said angrily. "Some people don't think that we're all from the same root. We've tolerated him time and time again, but what we got in return was Xing Feng's arrogance. Not only did he abandon his comrades in the middle of the sea and flee, but now he's trying to kill his comrades. This kind of person is a scourge in this world. The bureau chief was silent, and his eyes kept changing. As a leader, he was naturally more intelligent than others. From the fact that Suing Tian and the rest had returned to the capital safely, it had already explained many things. Xing Feng's report could not be trusted. There must have been many unknown things happening on the sea. Xing Feng had deliberately concealed the truth. But so what? The government chose to believe Xing Feng's words. If they immediately investigated him, wouldn't it be a slap to their own face? Although they were fighting tigers everywhere and controlling corruption, they could not let the government lose face. Otherwise, the gains would not make up for the losses. No one could bear this responsibility. Tang Zheng, you go back first. After we've done our research, we'll naturally come up with a countermeasure. We won't let those people die in vain. The bureau chief comforted him. Tang Zheng was greatly disappointed. Suing Tian was right about this result. The so-called research was just an excuse. They must have weighed the pros and cons. In the end, it was still impossible to conclude what would happen to Xing Feng. Moreover, Xing Feng had the support of a high-ranking official. He would not watch as his people were destroyed. Seeing Tang Zheng's nonchalant expression, the bureau chief's eyes turned cold. He said sternly, Tang Zheng, Xing Feng is an official. If he has done anything wrong, the government will come to a conclusion and punish him severely. Do you understand? What he meant was to remind Tang Zheng not to act rashly. Tang Zheng did not comment and said, if there's nothing else, I'll take my leave. Seeing Tang Zheng resolutely turn and leave, the bureau chief leaned back and leaned against the leather chair. He pinched his eyebrows and thought to himself. Suing Tian had once strongly recommended Tang Zheng and felt that the government should rope him in. This person was born and raised under the red flag. He still had feelings for the country. If he could rope in such a strong helper, it would definitely be beneficial to the country. But Tang Zheng's only flaw was that he was too undisciplined. He did not have the sense of restraint of a soldier. If he thought of something, he would do it himself. He might not even inform the government. He did not even respect the powerful officials. This was the pros and cons. If it was not used properly, there would be problems. But if it was just right, it would be of great use. But the government had never come to a conclusion on how to treat Tang Zheng. Seeing Tang Zheng's performance today, the bureau chief regretfully shook his head and drew a big X on the paper. Outside the courtyard, Tang Zheng saw Marshall. Marshall immediately asked about the situation. Tang Zheng shook his head with a serious expression and said, it's not optimistic. It seems that the government will not touch Xing Feng for the time being. Then what should we do? Tang Zheng was silent, but he had already made up his mind. The government would not care, but he would not forget Suing Tian's dying instructions. Let's go home first. We've been out for so long this time. They must be very worried. Tang Zheng said. When the two of them pushed open the door, everyone was stunned. Their expressions were different, but Nana was the first to react. Her figure flashed and she flew into his embrace. She hugged his neck and rubbed her head non-stop. She was overjoyed and said, "Brother, you're finally back. Nana missed you so much." Looking at her delicate face, the killing intent in his heart was temporarily thrown to the back of his mind. He carried her and walked towards the crowd. Seeing that everyone's expression was strange, he could not help but ask, "Why are you looking at me like that?" "Wah." Fang Shishi's tears flowed out of her eyes as she tightly hugged Tang Zheng. She and Nana occupied his left and right. "Whoa, I knew you weren't dead. It's great that you're back." Tang Zheng was confused. "Someone said I was dead." Fang Shishi nodded with tears of joy. The government said you died in battle. I knew they were lying. You promised me that you would come back. You wouldn't lie to me. Tang Zheng was shocked. The government had actually judged him as a dead man. They must have been under a lot of pressure. He patted her back and said guiltily, "It's all my fault. Don't cry. Didn't I come back safe and sound?" He gently wiped away the tears at the corner of her eyes. He was extremely distressed. He looked up at the others and found that apart from the Empyrean fairy, everyone else's eyes were red. This was especially true for Lu Qingmei. Her eyes were filled with tears and her legs were trembling. She wanted nothing more than to throw herself into Tang Zheng's arms. But she resisted. After all, there were so many people present and her identity was too special. Princess Anne wiped the corner of her eyes and revealed a relieved smile. Master said before that you were an unkillable cockroach. She was right. Mu Hongyan's body went soft and sank into the sofa. During this period of time, she had been under more pressure than anyone else. This was because she had a heavy burden on her shoulders. She had to wake up early and sleep late every day. She was so busy. Perhaps, only when she was busy could she forget about Tang Zheng. Now that she saw him standing in front of her alive, her heart fiercely beat. Many emotions intertwined and mixed together. "I'm really sorry for making everyone worry," Tang Zheng said guiltily. "Your safe return is the most important. There's no need to say these words. Yes, everyone is happy that you're safe." Everyone was talking at once, but it was difficult to express the joy in their hearts. Only the Empyrean fairy, Fu Yao, was the calmest. She glanced at him indifferently and then turned her attention to the TV. This was because she had never believed the news of Tang Zheng's death. Fang Shishir was reluctant to leave Tang Zheng. She kept hugging his arm as if she was afraid that in the blink of an eye, he would disappear again. After confirming that all this was not a dream, her heart felt a lot more at ease. The corner of her mouth hung a smile of regaining what she had lost. Everyone gathered together. Tang Zheng asked in detail about what had happened during this period of time. When he learned that his death had caused so many disturbances, he could not help but sigh. If he did not show up, he was afraid that there would really be a big problem. Those who were lurking in the dark would really not be able to hold back and take action. Perhaps it would even endanger their safety. "Sister Mu, you've worked hard during this period of time. You've supported all the matters of the group," Tang Zheng said sincerely. Mu Hongyan recovered her mood. She smiled faintly and said, "This is not just my credit. There is the support of all the colleagues in the company. In addition, in the end, I need the help of the Yan family, Yi Tianlei and Qing Mei. Only then can I persist and let the company operate normally." Tang Zheng nodded. He already knew that Yi Tianlei and Lu Qingmei had also joined the group. In fact, he was not very relieved that Lu Qingmei was working in other places. After all, the workplace was like a battlefield. There were too many traps. He was not willing to let Lu Qingmei take risks. But in the past, she did a good job, so it was not easy to persuade her to come to his group. This time, she actually took the initiative to join, which was an unexpected surprise. Tang Zheng's head warmed. He nodded towards Lu Qingmei and said, "Sister Mei, thank you." His relationship with Lu Qingmei was not made public, so it was not good to be too intimate in front of everyone. Lu Qingmei suppressed the impulse in her heart and pretended to be calm as she said, "This is what I should do." Finished speaking, she looked at Tang Zheng and smiled affectionately. All the words and affection were vividly expressed in this smile. Tang Zheng understood her smile and wished that he could immediately hug her tightly in his arms. Fang Shishir looked at the two thoughtfully but did not say anything. She was a smart girl and remembered everything. Of course, she guessed some things but did not point it out. As long as Tang Zheng was by her side, it was the greatest satisfaction. Subconsciously, she hugged Tang Jing tighter and let his arm press on her chest. Brother, Nana is also very powerful. I didn't slack off. Master often praises me for my great progress. Seeing others chatting enthusiastically with Tang Jing, Nana did not want to fall behind and said, Really? Tang Jing pretended to be surprised and asked. In fact, when he entered the door, he saw the changes in her body. She was already a real cultivator. At such a young age, she had already reached the 6th grade of the foundation establishment stage. It must be known that she had not been apprenticed for long. Even Tang Jing did not have such a fast cultivation speed. He could not help but admire her. If he had taught Nana at the beginning, he would not have such a good effect. The Empyrean fairy could be said to have devoted all her efforts to Nana. A famous teacher produces a brilliant student. This sentence was really true. Nana's progress could be said to be heaven-defying. It seemed that the Empyrean fairy was not lying. Nana's physique was indeed suitable for cultivation. However, although her cultivation was high, she was still young, so she did not have much attack power. Chapter 802. Fang Shishir suppressed her shyness and invited Tang Jing to her room. Tang Jing certainly would not refuse. Seeing her tear-stained face, he felt very distressed. However, he still took the time to sneak into Lu Qingmei's room. The two people tightly hugged each other and kissed passionately. Then Lu Qingmei buried her head in his chest and told him about her lovesickness. Okay, I'll go out quickly. Otherwise, someone will be waiting anxiously. After being warm for a while, Lu Qingmei sourly said. Sister Mei. Tang Zhang's heart was sour. Don't act like a little girl. You are a man, I understand. Go, don't tell me you don't even listen to your teacher's words. Lu Qingmei deliberately said with a straight face. Tang Jing hugged her and gave her a French kiss before slipping out. Fang Shishir had already finished washing up and was lying on the bed. Seeing him tiptoeing in, she pointed to the bathroom and said, Go take a bath. Tang Jing quickly took a bath and got into bed. Fang Shishir was like a kitten, docilely lying on his chest and gently rubbing his chest. Tang Zhang's hand also moved around her smooth skin. Your student status has been cancelled. You can go to the school tomorrow to restore it. Fang Shishir felt the big hand passing over every inch of her skin and said in a low voice. Tang Zhang was stunned for a moment and said, The school's action is quite fast. He paused for a moment and said, Since it has been cancelled, there is no need. No need. Fang Shishir propped up her arms, the scenery of her chest was clearly visible as she stared at him and asked. Yes, I didn't go to the university for any certificate. It was just a kind of experience and to complete my grandfather's wish. But now my life's focus is not on the school. Moreover, I feel that the matter of the demon race is not that simple. 100 Faces Star-Lord has not appeared. I don't know what kind of conspiracy he is brewing. Since the school has revoked my student status, then I'll take this opportunity to end my university career. Have you thought it through? Fang Shishir asked hesitantly. Most of her attention was still on her studies. She couldn't completely understand Tang Zhang's thoughts, but she respected his choice. I've already decided. Fang Shishir didn't try to persuade him any further. All right then. Tang Jing attacked her. Gradually, Fang Shishir's skin became hot. She hugged his neck, her eyes were full of lust, and her breath smelled like orchids. She whispered, Want me? Spring nights were short, but many people could not sleep in the endless night. Xing Feng was flustered and exasperated, his face ashen. The ground was a mess. Who knew how many things had been destroyed? The others lowered their heads and kept quiet out of fear. Rice buckets, a bunch of rice buckets. So many people failed to deal with those few people. Water King and Wind King even died. Humph, truly useless rice buckets. Xing Feng was like an enraged wild beast, roaring angrily again and again. The Thunder King's face was dispirited. He wanted to say something, but hesitated. This matter was out of his expectations. He hadn't thought that these people would actually not die and even return to the capital. When he had first heard this news, he had been shocked. However, after hearing Xing Feng methodically arrange for an ambush to kill these people, his heart settled back into his stomach. However, the final result was that the dragon group was almost completely annihilated. It didn't matter if some people died, but the other party had still escaped. This was a big problem. Xing Feng glanced at the Thunder King and said, "If you have something to say, say it. Group leader, now that Tang Zheng and the others have escaped, what do we do? Run?" The Thunder King asked cautiously. "Run, my ass. By the time you know how to run, it'll be too late." Xing Feng pointed above and said, "The higher-ups have already sent news. Tang Zheng has already gone to see the chief, and the two of them have been talking behind closed doors for a long time." "Ah!" The Thunder King gasped. Xing Feng actually had eyes and ears in the inner palace. This was too amazing and even more so, disgraceful. However, he was immediately scared out of his wits. His legs went weak, and he said in a trembling voice, "The chief already knows. Then aren't we finished?" "How can I, Xing Feng, be finished just like that?" Xing Feng said resolutely. "I've always told you to be smarter. Why are you still so stupid? If the chief wanted to touch me, we would have long been surrounded. How could we still be standing here unscathed?" The Thunder King thought about it. That was indeed the case. Confused, he asked, "Then what exactly is going on?" Xing Feng's expression fluctuated. "I've only just been promoted. Even if the higher-ups know of my actions, they can't possibly deal with me so quickly. This would be slapping their own faces. The higher-ups care about face the most, and they definitely won't do something like slapping their own faces. Thus, even if Tang Jing goes to lodge a complaint, I'm still safe for the time being." Xing Feng was indeed a wily old fox in the officialdom. He was well versed in the ways of officialdom, and his guess was actually pretty close to the mark. The Thunder King was still on tenterhooks. But they'll definitely settle the score at an opportune time. At that time, we'll be in trouble. Xing Feng laughed coldly. Settle the score at an opportune time. They'll have to wait. The Thunder King looked at him in suspicion, seemingly deep in thought. Tell the subordinates to keep a close eye on him. It's not good for Tang Jing to stay here for long. He must be eliminated, Xing Feng ordered. Yes. The Thunder King nodded in acknowledgement. At the same time, the Song family gathered together, all of their expressions unsightly. The Song family had many eyes and ears, and they were all shocked when they heard that Tang Jing wasn't dead. Tang Zheng's return to the capital meant that the Song family's good days were about to come to an end. Song Yu's injuries were more or less healed. His face was ashen, and he gritted his teeth without saying a word. Song Jianan glanced at him and said, Is there any news from Sword Pavilion? I just received news that Sword Pavilion has already sent people to the capital to pick up eldest senior brother's body in a few days, Song Yu said. Who did Sword Pavilion send? Song Jianan's expression changed as he asked. Song Yu shook his head. I don't know for now. Song Jianan let out a long sigh and said, If the people from Sword Pavilion are strong enough, then we can work together to get rid of Tang Jing. Then the Song family will be safe. Otherwise, we can't just go back to hiding, right? The dignified head of the Song family was actually living like a mouse, hiding here and there and not daring to show his face. This was not only sullen, but also a great humiliation. Song Yu nodded firmly. You're right. I hope Sword Pavilion sends an expert this time. It's best if His Excellency Sword God comes in person, Song Jianan said. Many of the other well-informed people found out that Tang Jing did not die that night and returned safely. Many of the people who were ready to make a move quieted down. Tang Zhang's name was well known enough that no one dared to look down on him. Similarly, many people had already learned about the return of the demon race. Naturally, they were shocked. But because of the false news brought back by Xing Feng, these people thought that the demon race had been wiped out and did not pay attention to this matter. The next day, Tang Jing, Mu Hongyan, and Lu Qingmei came to the group together. As soon as they appeared, they caused a big sensation. The ordinary staff did not know Tang Zheng's identity, but the core staff knew that Tang Zheng was their real boss. When they saw him standing in front of them alive, they were all shocked. Then their morale was greatly boosted, and their hearts were put back into their stomachs. Tang Zheng's purpose of this trip was to appease people, so he had to make this trip. After listening to a simple report, he found that all the business was proceeding normally. Although the situation in Europe was not satisfactory, Tang Jing did not care too much. Those European royal families had gone back on their words. He would settle this account with them later. Tang Linger was not in the company. It was said that she had recently participated in the shooting of a movie and was in full swing with the crew. Tang Zheng was slightly relieved. Tang Linger did not know about Tang Zheng's death, so she was not distracted. Her career was rising rapidly and she had already gained some fame in the country. After chatting with Yi Tianlei for a while, Yi Tianlei earnestly asked Tang Zheng to take a look at Yi Dingdang. Tang Zheng's heart thumped as he asked, "What happened to Dingdang?" During this period of time, she did not eat or drink. She missed you very much. It was as if her soul had been taken away. Yi Tianlei thought of his daughter's state and could not help but sigh. Tang Jing felt a pain in his heart. Damn Xing Feng, spreading false news of his death and implicating so many people. He could not help but blame himself. He had thought too simply. So many people were worried about him, but he had gone missing. He was really too irresponsible. After leaving the company, Tang Jing anxiously went to Yi Dingdang's new home. This new home was completely incomparable to the Ya family's courtyard house or ordinary Balance's villa. It was completely an ordinary family of 3 with 3 bedrooms and 2 living rooms. It was Tang Zhang's first time coming to the Ya family. After knocking on the door, he saw Feng Xinyang. Feng Xinyang opened her eyes in surprise and was overjoyed. "Little handsome, you are not dead." "Ha, I knew it. Heaven helps the worthy. How could you die? Those gossiping guys are too hateful." During this period of time, her daughter had suffered and suffered because of the news of Tang Zhang's death. She saw it with her own eyes and felt pain in her heart, but there was no cure. When she saw Tang Jing standing in front of her alive, she knew that all the pain was over. "Aunt Feng, is Dingdang here?" Yes, come in quickly." "She is in the bedroom." "I will take you there." Feng Xinyang's eyes were red. She hurriedly led Tang Jing to Yi Dingdang's door. "Dingdang, come out quickly. Look who is here." Feng Xinyang knocked on the door and said, "I don't want to see anyone." Yi Dingdang's weak voice came out. Tang Zheng had a headache. How did Yi Dingdang, who used to be lively and cheerful, become so weak? "I will go out for a while. You accompany her." Feng Xinyang patted Tang Zheng's shoulder and whispered. Then she left the house. Tang Zheng stood in front of the door, took a deep breath, and said, "Dingdang, is it me?" The room fell into a dead silence. "Dingdang, why are you not talking? Open the door." Creak. The door was suddenly pulled open. A thin figure rushed out. Her hair was a little messy, she looked tired, and her eyes were dim. But when she saw Tang Jing, she gradually regained her spirit. Yi Dingdang stared straight at Tang Jing. Her tears were like 2 strings of pearls. Her lips twitched, and she could hardly believe what she saw. Chapter 803. Seeing the soulless and incomparably haggard Yi Dingdang, Tang Zheng's heart was filled with tenderness. He immediately pulled her into his embrace and was reluctant to let go. He wished he could rub her into his body. "Dingdang, you've suffered," Tang Zheng emotionally said. Yi Dingdang hugged his waist and buried her head in his chest. Smelling the familiar scent on his body, her entire body trembled as she choked out, "You're not dead. You're finally back." "Yes, I'm not dead. I still want to see you, so how could I bear to die? But do you know how worried I was about you?" Yi Dingdang's voice rose a few octaves as she punched Tang Zheng's back. Then, her fists were like raindrops as they hit Tang Zheng. "You're too bad. Why didn't you come back when you were fine? You made me worry for so long. I even have the heart to die." "My heart is broken." Although the fists hit his body, he felt that Yi Dingdang's heart was 1,000 times more painful than this. He couldn't help but feel like his heart was being cut by a knife. The fists stopped. Yi Dingdang seemed to have collapsed as she laid on top of Tang Zheng's body. "Your body is weak. Lie down for a while," Tang Zheng advised. Yi Dingdang had lost a lot of weight and he almost couldn't recognize her. "Carry me over," Yi Dingdang said coquettishly. She had been with Tang Zheng for so long, but she had never used such a coquettish tone before, so it sounded very charming. Tang Zheng smiled and carried her up by the waist. Yi Dingdang wrapped her arms around his neck as she stared into his eyes. She had fantasized countless times before about him hugging her so intimately. Now that her dream had come true, her heart was filled with sweet warmth. After experiencing this life and death separation, she thought of many questions. If she had agreed to be with him earlier, she wouldn't have this regret. Perhaps, if he had her by his side, he might not have died. Even if he died, it would be a great blessing to have her by his side. As for Tang Zheng's romantic debt, she chose to ignore it. Moreover, there was another voice in her heart that defended him. There were thousands of successful men in the world, and this kind of man would definitely attract the attention of many women. This was not all his fault. Moreover, during this period of time in the capital, she had seen the behavior of many men in the big families. They were even more unscrupulous than Tang Zheng. In comparison, Tang Zheng appeared to be more outstanding. Therefore, the conflict in her heart was dissolving bit by bit. She silently swore that if she could see Tang Zheng again, she would definitely not dwell on those questions anymore. Although she still hadn't gotten over the hurdle in her heart, she didn't want to think about it for the time being. She just wanted to be with Tang Zheng and couldn't bear to part with him again. "Kiss me." Lying on the bed, Yi Dingdang closed her eyes and said with a red face. Tang Zheng was slightly stunned. He didn't expect her to be so proactive. Looking at the beautiful face so close to him, he couldn't help but kiss it. Yi Dingdang responded in a jerky and intense manner. Her whole body went soft as if it had turned into water. Her breath was like orchids as she gasped for breath. She gradually opened her eyes and stared at Tang Zheng with her dark eyes. It was as if she wanted to imprint his appearance in her heart and never erase it. "Tang Zheng, I love you," Yi Dingdang said. Tang Zheng shook his head and excitedly kissed her. The two rolled together on the bed. "Tang Zheng, I will give my body to you. I want to truly belong to you and have you," Yi Dingdang whispered into Tang Zheng's ear. Tang Zheng had fantasized about this day before, but he didn't expect it to come so suddenly. He couldn't help but be stunned. But looking at her burning eyes and haggard appearance, he was both happy and distressed. He stroked her cheeks and said, "You are too tired. You need to rest well." This matter isn't urgent. Yi Dingdang stared at him without backing down. She stubbornly said, "No, I want it." After saying this, she tyrannically tore at Tang Zhang's clothes. With the beauty taking the initiative and being so affectionate, Tang Zhang really couldn't find a reason to refuse. Yi Dingdang's performance was very wild, but also very unfamiliar. Very quickly, she stripped Tang Zhang naked, and then admired his strong physique. Her face was so red that it seemed like it was going to drip blood, and her heart was beating fast, but she still resisted the shyness in her heart, and took the initiative to gently stroke Tang Zhang. A moment later, the two met each other and became one. Yi Dingdang felt pain and bit Tang Zhang's shoulder. A row of teeth marks were clearly visible. After the battle, Yi Dingdang wrapped her arms and legs around Tang Zhang like an octopus. The corners of her mouth hung in a satisfied smile. Tang Zhang let out a long breath. Yi Dingdang's wildness was beyond his imagination. Although it was her first time tasting the forbidden fruit, because the foundation and flexibility of a martial artist's body were very good, the battle just now was really to their heart's content. They had reached a state where they forgot about everything else. At this moment, there was only each other in their eyes and hearts. It was difficult for them to tolerate anything else. Yi Dingdang gently touched the teeth marks on his shoulder and asked in distress, "Does it hurt?" Tang Zhang foolishly smiled and shook his head, "It doesn't hurt. You deserve it. Who told you to use so much strength? It's my first time, so I don't know how painful it is." Yi Dingdang said with a pout. "Yes, I deserve it." Tang Zhang hugged her tightly and said with pity, "This is my mark, do you know?" Tang Zhang didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He could only nod. "I know, your mark. From now on, you're mine." "Humph, I'll see how you explain yourself if other people see it," Yi Dingdang said mischievously. With this intimate relationship between the two, that layer of barrier was finally pierced through. Their intimacy became a lot more natural. "I'm yours, and you're mine." Tang Zhang gently kissed her forehead and said with a smile. Yi Dingdang's lips curled up and sweetly smiled. She affectionately hugged him. At this moment, silence was better than words. Caw! The soft sound of the door opening rang out. As if their pressure points had been pressed, their bodies stiffened and then their expressions greatly changed. "My mom is back. Hurry and put on your clothes." Seeing her flustered appearance, Tang Zhang couldn't help but laugh. Still laughing. "It's all your fault. If she finds out, I won't let you off." "It's fine even if she finds out," Tang Zhang said mischievously. "Be smart later. Don't let her find out." Yi Dingdang fiercely glared at him and warned. Feng Xinyang entered the house and found the bedroom door closed. She didn't disturb them and went into the kitchen to get busy. If she barged in, she would definitely see a scene not suitable for children. The two neatly dressed and walked out. Feng Xinyang didn't turn her head and said, "You two play for a while. I'll call you when I'm done cooking." "Aunt Feng, let me help you." "No need. You two go play. Spend more time with Dingdang." Tang Zhang quietly whispered in Yi Dingdang's ear, "It seems your mom didn't find out." Yi Dingdang fiercely pinched him and said, "You're not allowed to say it." Tang Zhang chuckled. He was happy and sweet. But time was short. In the evening, he left the Ya family. Yi Dingdang reluctantly sent him downstairs and kissed him passionately before letting him go. Tang Zhang didn't go home. His figure flashed and disappeared into the night. His eyes flashed with a biting cold killing intent. It was like he was a different person from before. "Xing Feng, if the government doesn't punish you, then I will personally take action and take revenge for Chief Su." This was the decision he made after leaving the courtyard house that represented power yesterday. If Xing Feng didn't die, he wouldn't be able to answer to Chief Su's spirit in heaven. Moreover, he knew that Xing Feng wouldn't leave the matter at that. Since that was the case, he might as well make the first move. This trip would definitely be dangerous. So he didn't even tell anyone about it. He was prepared to act alone. In the night, he was like a ghost. He blended into the night and no one could detect him. The Dragon Group's base in Beijing wasn't in the city. Instead, it was in an air raid shelter in the suburbs. This air raid shelter was a product of the last century. It was specially built to prevent nuclear attacks. It was practically hollowed out. There wasn't anything strange from the outside, but it was a completely different world inside. This place was reused after the establishment of the Dragon Group. Furthermore, it had undergone complicated modifications. Su Yingtian had briefly introduced it to Tang Jing. That was why Tang Jing was able to find the place. However, when he saw the flawless base that was blended into the mountain, he couldn't help but frown. This was because he couldn't find a place to enter. This was simply an ordinary mountain. It wasn't eye-catching. There wasn't even a fence. If it was an ordinary person, they would definitely treat this as a barren mountain. However, Tang Jing knew that there was a completely different world inside. No, I must think of a way to enter. Suddenly, a beam of car light shot over from afar. Tang Jing quickly bent his waist and hid in the bushes. He watched as a car drove to the front of the mountain. Tang Jing's eyes lit up. The heavens were helping him. This was definitely a member of the Dragon Group. Then he could take this opportunity to sneak in. With a clear sound, the mountain slowly moved to both sides, revealing a huge door. The door rose and the car drove in. Tang Jing took the opportunity and rushed in like lightning. He directly laid down under the car's chassis and hid. The people in the car didn't see anything. The door closed again and the mountain returned to normal. Tang Jing felt that he was falling. Elevator. Tang Jing immediately understood. The base was not only in the mountain, but also underground. He had to use this elevator to enter. It was easy to defend and hard to attack. There was probably a camera in the elevator. If he didn't act fast enough, he wouldn't be able to fool the person behind the camera. His guess was right. Just now, there was only a shadow flashing on the screen. After that, everything returned to normal. The monitoring personnel didn't notice anything. Otherwise, the alarm would have gone off. Ding! The elevator stopped. The car started and drove out of the elevator. Tang Jing was like a gecko lying under the car's chassis. He glanced outside. He could vaguely see that the base was very big. It was like an underground city. The car drove into the garage. The sound of the door closing could be heard. Then, several people left together. Everything was quiet. Tang Jing confirmed that there was no one around. Then, he quietly climbed out from under the car. Chapter 804. The underground parking lot was filled with cars, tanks, armored vehicles, and even helicopters. There was a dazzling array of vehicles, just like an arsenal. Maybe there are mechas here too, Tang Jing guessed. With his current cultivation, he was not afraid of mechas, and these weapons were not much of a threat to him. The most important thing now was to find Xing Feng. Dong dong. Footsteps were heard. He hurriedly hid and found a person walking over alone. He strode forward and chopped the person's neck with his hand. The person immediately fell down. He changed into the person's clothes, wiped his face, and used an illusion to change into the person's appearance. Then, he swaggered out. Just now, he had used the soul-searching technique to grab enough information from the person's mind to know where Xing Feng's office was. But as for whether Xing Feng was in the base today, the person did not know. Tang Jing followed the map and quickly passed through layers of checkpoints and arrived at the core area. Suddenly, Tang Zheng's pupils shrank as he saw a few behemoths, demon beasts. The demon beasts were locked in huge glass containers. Some were sleeping, some were struggling, and their bodies were connected with various wires. Tang Zheng had once heard Kai Guibin mention that the success of the Super Soldier and Mecha project was due to the demon beasts. Because the demon beasts' inner cores provided enough energy, and the demon beasts' bodies and blood provided research materials for the transformation of super soldiers. In short, without these demon beasts, the dragon group would not be as powerful as it was today. Xing Feng is really amazing. He actually caught so many demon beasts from the 100,000 mountains. Tang Jing secretly praised. There was no way to go deep into the 100,000 mountains. Xing Feng spent a lot of effort to catch these demon beasts at the edge of the 100,000 mountains. Then, these demon beasts became Xiao Bai's mice. They could neither live nor die. Their bodies were thoroughly studied. After a simple glance, Tang Jing prepared to pass through this area. After passing through another checkpoint, he would reach Xing Feng's office. Beep! The pass card in Tang Zheng's hand failed, and the red light of the entrance control lit up. Previously, his heart was unimpeded, all because of this pass card. The sudden failure caught Tang Jing off guard. Which department are you from? Is this a place where you can come? A group of people immediately surrounded him and questioned him fiercely. The dragon group had a strict hierarchy, and the person that Tang Zheng was impersonating was clearly not of a high enough level. He was so close, but there was nothing he could do. Tang Zheng was unwilling to accept this. Seeing the suspicious looks in the eyes of this group of people, Tang Zheng knew that it was useless to continue acting. He simply struck like lightning, and this group of people fell to the ground one after another. He casually picked up a person's pass, but he still couldn't swipe open the access control. The people in the distance had already seen the situation here, and they all rushed over while shouting. "We can't wait any longer. We can only use force." Tang Jing pulled out Battle Soul, and with a move of transcendent flying immortal, the powerful and heavy Battle Soul fiercely chopped at the iron door. Pooh! Like cutting tofu, the iron door was split into two halves. Tang Jing dashed in with a tap of his toes. What greeted him was a super soldier. Da-da-da. Bullets were fired at an angle, directly greeting Tang Jing. Ding ding ding. All the bullets hit the sacred armor shield. Tang Jing held the sacred armor shield in one hand and Battle Soul in the other. He was invincible, and one by one, the super soldiers fell at his feet. Tang Jing, it's actually you. Tang Jing had already recovered his true appearance. A thunderous shout rang out, and the Thunder King welcomed him. Tang Jing's pupils constricted, and he was overjoyed. The Thunder King was Xing Feng's #1 lackey, and since he was here, it was very likely that Xing Feng was here as well. His guess was not wrong, Xing Feng was indeed here. Ever since he found out that Tang Jing was not dead, he had been on guard against Tang Jing. He even moved back to the base from the city. After all, there were many people here, and their equipment was complete, so they could better protect him. Who would have thought that by chance, this would fulfill Tang Jing's wish? Otherwise, in such a big capital, it would not be easy for him to find Xing Feng. When he saw Tang Jing barging in like a god of death, Xing Feng turned pale with fright. He thought to himself, how did he find this place? What guts! Even the government was temporarily not doing anything to him, but Tang Jing actually dared to do the opposite, personally killing his way to his door. Xing Feng sighed at Tang Jing's audacity. He was both furious and delighted. There's a path to heaven, but you refuse to take it, and barge into hell. Since you've come to my territory, don't even think about escaping. Xing Feng swaggered to his feet and roared, kill him. Tear him into pieces. A large group of super soldiers rushed in, surrounding Tang Jing so tightly that not even a drop of water could trickle through. This small space was already filled with people, and Tang Jing could not escape even if he had wings. Xing Feng laughed coldly, pleased with himself, and hurriedly retreated far away. He crossed his arms, calmly watching the show. Tang Jing locked onto Xing Feng from afar, and the stone in his heart fell to the ground. It seemed that he had made the right choice this time. However, if he wanted to get rid of Xing Feng, he would have to go through the Thunder King and the other super soldiers. Without a doubt, this would be a tough battle. The Thunder King was a second-grade grandmaster. Moreover, he had the help of so many super soldiers. He was full of confidence as he shouted, "Everyone, disperse. Let me deal with him." After saying that, he casually pointed his finger, and a burst of thunder exploded. Then, a thumb-sized bolt of lightning shot out from his finger, attacking Tang Jing. Tang Jing's head trembled. The other party could actually shoot out lightning. No wonder he was called the Thunder King. The four heavenly kings really had their own strengths. In the future, their strength would probably be even stronger. In fact, in terms of ability to control lightning, the Thunder Cloud Beast was definitely above the Thunder King. It was a pity that the Thunder Cloud Beast was not here. Otherwise, they could have competed. Although the Thunder King's momentum was terrifying, Tang Jing did not cower in the slightest. Seeing the lightning attack, he fiercely thrusted out his sword, and the lightning struck the War Soul sword. The lightning was like a maggot in a tarsal bone, following the sword blade to Tang Jing's arm. Bang! A burst of green smoke rose. Half of Tang Jing's sleeve was burned off, and his skin turned charred black. If he hadn't immediately used his true chi to stop the lightning, it would have flowed through his entire body, causing fatal damage to him. It seems that the War Spirit's sword will be at a disadvantage against his lightning technique. Tang Jing simply put away the War Spirit's sword and dealt with the Thunder King with his bare hands. Seeing this, the Thunder King laughed complacently. "Tang Jing, this is just the appetizer. The main course is still behind. Enjoy it." Tang Jing curled his lips and said, "If you have any ability, then take it out. Otherwise, you won't have a chance in the future." The Thunder King coldly snorted and said with an ashen face, "Then let's see who dies and who dies." The Thunder King leaped into the air and flicked his finger. Crackling sounds rang out non-stop as 10 bolts of lightning descended from the sky. In an instant, they covered the lights in the room, as if they were scorching suns in the sky. The other super soldiers all retreated, afraid that they would be implicated. As the 10 bolts of lightning descended, Tang Jing raised the holy armor shield. Pang, pang, pang. The lightning struck the holy armor shield. The holy armor shield was a tortoise shell and didn't conduct electricity. Lightning flashed and gathered on the holy armor shield. "Go!" Tang Jing roared. His true chi fluctuated and directly shattered the lightning bolts, disappearing without a trace. Seeing this, the Thunder King's mouth twitched. He said coldly, "I don't believe that you can block all of them." After saying this, his hands grabbed at the air. Paw, paw, a bolt of lightning as thick as an arm gradually formed between his hands. The lightning flashed like a huge electric python, descending from the sky and pouncing toward Tang Jing. Pang! The lightning still landed on the holy armor shield. However, it really slithered like a python, instantly passing through the holy armor shield and flying toward Tang Jing's arm. This wasn't like the small lightning bolt from before. The power it contained was 100 times stronger. Tang Jing didn't dare to let it touch his body. He reacted quickly and used the sky-swallowing technique. A black hole immediately appeared in his palm, and a huge suction force directly sucked the lightning bolt into the black hole. Immediately, one end of the lightning bolt was in Tang Jing's palm, while the other end was in the Thunder King's palm. The two of them stared at each other from afar, glaring at each other furiously. What kind of technique is this?" The Thunder King turned pale with fright. He had never seen such an ability before. Tang Jing breathed a sigh of relief. It seemed that the sky-swallowing technique was just right to deal with the Thunder King. Therefore, he walked toward the Thunder King step by step, shortening the distance between them. The two of them were still connected by that huge bolt of lightning. The huge suction force even spread out along the lightning bolt, reaching the Thunder King's palm. "Quickly let go." The Thunder King knew that things weren't good. He wanted to immediately remove the lightning bolt, but he found that it was impossible. That suction force was connected to him, making it impossible for him to break free. Tang Jing also gradually realized this point and was overjoyed. The sky-swallowing technique was indeed amazing. It didn't disappoint him. Seeing Tang Jing approaching step by step, the Thunder King shouted in panic, "What are you guys still standing there for? Quickly stop him." The super warrior was very depressed. "Didn't you tell us not to make a move?" Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. However, no one dared to complain. All of them rushed toward Tang Jing, trying to surround him to rescue him. Seeing this, Tang Jing chuckled and let out a deep bellow. He waved his arm, causing the lightning bolt to move as well. The Thunder King also flew up. Like a meteor hammer, it swept toward the super warriors who were rushing toward him. Bang, bang, bang. Paw, paw, paw. The Thunder King crashed into the super warriors. The Thunder King cried out in pain, and the super warriors were all sent flying. The power of the lightning was even greater. Once it swept past the super warriors, they would be turned into charcoal. Their bodies would tremble, emitting black smoke, and they would fall to the ground, dead. Tang Jing was astonished. This Thunder King's lightning was indeed powerful. If he were to be hit by it, he wouldn't be in a good state either. "Tang Jing, quickly put me down. I'm going to kill you," the Thunder King howled at the top of his lungs. This was really a great humiliation. To think that he was being used as a weapon to deal with his own people. Tang Jing chuckled and said, "You want to come down, right? Then I'll do as you wish." After saying that, he crazily circulated the sky-swallowing technique, and the lightning bolt was rapidly sucked into the black hole. The Thunder King was immediately pulled before Tang Jing. The Thunder King was already exhausted. His face was covered in blood, and it was unknown how many of his bones were broken. He grimaced in pain, looking like a demon. Chapter 805. Seeing the Thunder King being swallowed up by the black hole, not only were the others shocked, but even Tang Jing was extremely astonished. This was because the sky-devouring technique could only absorb inanimate objects in the past. It had never sacrificed a living being before. Why would the Thunder King be swallowed up by the black hole? Could it be the effect of the latter half of the sky-devouring technique? That must be it. Tang Jing nodded silently. After completing the sky-devouring technique, its might was even greater than before. If it could even absorb living beings, then its might would increase tremendously. What's going on? Yeah, why did the Thunder King disappear? Everyone started to discuss spiritedly. They subconsciously took a few steps back, increasing the distance between them and Tang Jing. They were deeply afraid that they would also be swallowed up by that black hole. Tang Jing looked up, but no one was looking at him. Where was Xing Feng? Suddenly, Tang Jing's eyes narrowed. He actually couldn't find Xing Feng's figure in the crowd. Damn it, he actually ran away. Tang Jing stomped his feet hatefully. Xing Feng must have taken advantage of the intense battle between him and the Thunder King to slip away. Scram! Tang Jing rushed into the crowd and roared. Many people subconsciously retreated, but there were still a few who tried to block him, but they were knocked far away. Without a leader, no one dared to block him. Tang Jing rushed out like a whirlwind, leaving behind a group of people staring at each other. Suddenly, a strong gust of wind blew over. He looked up and actually saw a sky full of stars. The mountain above him actually split down the middle, and a loud boom came from above. An airplane. Tang Jing locked onto the small dot in the sky with a single glance. It was actually an airplane. He didn't have time to marvel at the grand design of this base. He guessed that Xing Feng must have escaped by plane. This person's ability to escape was really top-notch. Escaping in the sea, he didn't even want his own base. He was fleeing in panic like a stray dog. This wasn't enough to satisfy Tang Jing. What he wanted was Xing Feng's life. Xiao Bai, come out. Let's chase. He quickly summoned Xiao Bai and sat on it. He soared into the air and gave chase. The moon was bright and the stars were sparse. Two silhouettes streaked across the sky like meteors. The speed of the plane was extremely fast. Xiao Bai was naturally not slow, but it was not so easy to catch up in a short time. Xiao Bai, we must catch up to him this time. Otherwise, if he hides, it won't be so easy to find him next time. Tang Jing patted Xiao Bai's head and exhorted. Xiao Bai squeaked and nodded. From dusk to dawn, the two sides circled in the air. The plane tried to shake off Tang Jing, but in the end, it found that it was all in vain. Xiao Bai was quite energetic. Although he couldn't catch up with the plane for the time being, he could keep up with it from afar. There was no way to shake him off. Beep beep. Suddenly, Tang Zhang's cell phone rang. It turned out to be a call without a number displayed. He was very surprised. This was his private phone number. Ordinary people would not have this number. Moreover, it was even stranger that there was no number displayed. However, he still answered the call. His body was in midair. The sound of the wind blew into the phone. He could only hear a dignified voice intermittently coming from the phone. This voice was very familiar. Tang Jing immediately recognized that it was the bureau chief. He was shocked. Why did the bureau chief call so early in the morning? Tang Jing, what are you doing? The bureau chief asked angrily. Tang Jing instantly guessed the purpose of the call, but pretended not to know and asked, Bureau chief, what do you mean? Tang Jing, where are you? I order you to immediately stop all your bad behavior. The bureau chief gave the order without hesitation. Tang Jing raised his eyebrows. He was not a soldier under the bureau chief. Why would he listen to his orders? Thus, he said in a neutral tone, sorry, I still have something to do. Are you still chasing after Xing Feng? The bureau chief was angry. Tang Jing actually disobeyed the order. Yes. Tang Jing said straightforwardly, since justice cannot be done, then I can only do it myself. You are ignoring the country's big picture. Tang Jing chuckled and said, is the country's big picture protecting a villain like Xing Feng? Why would the country protect him? It's just that we won't touch him for the time being. The country has overall considerations. Tang Jing said lightly, sorry, I'm not an official. I don't understand so many principles. I only understand that Xing Feng must die to avenge Chief Su and the others who died. You have no respect for discipline. The bureau chief said angrily. I am a free person. Your so-called discipline can't control me. You don't need to persuade me anymore, and don't need to order me righteously. It's useless. Goodbye. Tang Jing hung up the phone. If other people knew that he dared to hang up on the bureau chief, they would definitely scold him for not knowing the immensity of heaven and earth. Tang Jing clenched his teeth and stared at the plane in front of him. He thought bitterly, your government doesn't do anything, but that doesn't mean that I don't care. If Xing Feng is allowed to continue, who knows how many more people will be harmed by him. Xing Feng sat in the plane with an ashen face. He looked at the surveillance camera from time to time. That familiar figure made him gnash his teeth in hatred. Damn that Tang Jing. He actually rode that beast and chased after me. I can't shake him off no matter what. Fine, since it's like this, then let's go to the desert in the Great Northwest. I have a lot of troops there. They may not be Tang Zhang's opponent. Whoosh! The plane flew over the desert and headed straight for its destination. From afar, one could see the towering tree of life. Its branches and leaves covered the sky. The vast desert had completely changed. It had turned into an oasis of life with green trees and blooming flowers. It was exceptionally beautiful. Xing Feng also found it hard to believe when he saw this scene from the plane. Although his subordinates had reported the situation to him, seeing it with his own eyes was a different matter. He smacked his lips and stared at the tree of life. He muttered to himself, what kind of harvest will I get if I can crack the mystery of it? He couldn't imagine it. Suddenly, his pupils shrank. He looked down from the sky and saw a slight fluctuation in the space around the tree of life. What's going on? He had an idea and immediately ordered his subordinates to check the source of the energy fluctuation. His men had been studying the tree of life for months. Not only did they find nothing, they couldn't even get close to the tree of life. Therefore, this abnormal fluctuation made him wild with joy as if he saw a glimmer of hope. Seeing that the pursuers had arrived, he hurriedly ordered the plane to land. This plane was the latest model. It could take off and land vertically. Therefore, even in the desert, it could take off and land smoothly. The plane landed smoothly. Xing Feng directly jumped off the plane and looked back. He found that Tang Zhang had also chased after him. Leader, we found that someone broke the restriction of the tree of life and sneaked in. A surprised voice came from the earpiece. Someone broke through the restriction. Xing Feng was startled. He was shocked. His men had spent countless manpower and resources but failed to do so. However, someone beat them to it. Yes, it's a woman. I didn't see her face clearly. Then, can we go in? Xing Feng asked anxiously. This was the question he was most concerned about. For the time being, we can. Fortunately, Leader is wise and discovered it in time. Before the restriction is restored, we found a way to temporarily maintain the status quo. Now, we can go in smoothly. But I don't know how long we can last. Xing Feng's heart moved. He hurriedly said, you must hold on. I'll go over immediately. He was ecstatic. This was really a help from the heavens. As soon as he came here, he found that he could break the restriction. This allowed him to get close to the tree of life. Maybe he could solve the mystery within. Although he was very curious about the woman who could break the restriction, he had so many people here. Therefore, he was not worried. Even if the other party was an expert, he was confident that he could deal with her. He looked back at the approaching Tang Jing and ordered, everyone, listen to my order. Stop him at all costs. Kill him without mercy. Boom. Boom. 3 mechas broke out of the ground and rose into the air to meet Tang Jing. Whoosh. 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 Countless super soldiers also rose into the air. They had not seen Tang Zhang's power. Because they did not know, they were not afraid. Therefore, they aggressively attacked Tang Zhang. Xing Feng smiled complacently, then ran to the restrictive spell in a flash. When he saw the door with the restriction, his eyes almost turned red. He muttered excitedly, this time, I must solve the mystery of the tree of life. Many scientists had already rushed in with their equipment. Although there was not much progress in the past few months, they had been painstakingly researching and had gained a lot. Therefore, everyone was confident that they could solve the mystery of the tree of life. Xing Fengfei also rushed in, but before he could take a few steps, the door closed, and the others were locked out of the restriction. He still had a lingering fear. If he was a few steps later, he wouldn't have been able to enter. He saw Tang Jing from afar, who was already fighting with his subordinates. The corners of his mouth curled up into a smug smile. Tang Jing, when I solve the mystery of the Tree of Life, you will be insignificant. Tang Jing was furious. Xing Feng was too cunning. He had escaped all the way to the Tree of Life. Back then, the Dragon Group's headquarters was below. Later, more than half of it was destroyed by Lan Yu. Unexpectedly, it was not abandoned. Instead, a new base was built on the ruins. Obviously, the strength of this base was even stronger than before. Seeing the three mechs rushing over, he soared into the air and flew up from Xiao Bai's body, landing directly on top of a mech's head. Bang! A huge fist came crashing down, but Tang Jing suddenly jumped and dodged it. Then, he waved the War Soul sword and quickly descended. With a pew sound, the War Soul sword pierced through the top of the mech's head. Immediately, the mech's body emitted sparks and black smoke. With a plop, it knelt on the ground. The ground seemed to tremble. Then, the mech fell to the ground with a loud bang. Tang Jing leaped up and jumped down, just in time to meet the group of super warriors who were rushing towards him. Waving his War Soul sword, he fought with them. Without a doubt, Tang Jing's personal strength far surpassed these super warriors. They were not even comparable to the four heavenly kings, so how could they contend against Tang Jing? However, after all, there were many of them, so they were still able to hold back Tang Jing. The other two mechs also joined the battle. Chapter 806. Tang Jing saw Xing Feng running toward the Tree of Life from afar. Although the restriction could block people, it couldn't block vision, so Tang Jing saw everything clearly. His heart skipped a beat. How did Xing Feng get into the 6 Directions 8 Desolation Formation? The 6 Directions 8 Desolation Formation was an extremely powerful formation. Moreover, there were more than 60 pieces of heaven and earth mystic stones buried around the Tree of Life to provide energy for the formation. How could it be so easy to break through? I can't let him get close to the Tree of Life. Otherwise, the Tree of Life and the heaven and earth mystic stones below will be in danger. Tang Jing gritted his teeth and roared, "Xiao Bai, use your full power and attack." Xiao Bai shouted excitedly and immediately spat out flames. One of the mechas was immediately surrounded by raging flames, and crackling sounds came from all over its body. With one less mecha, the pressure on Tang Jing was greatly reduced. With the holy armor shield in one hand and the battle soul in the other, he was like a god, full of vigor as he quickly approached the Tree of Life. Xing Feng turned around and saw Tang Jing chasing after him. He was shocked. This brat's battle strength was too shocking. However, with that restriction guarding it, it wouldn't be easy for him to enter. His heart settled back into his stomach. However, in the next second, his jaw almost dropped to the ground. Bang! He saw Tang Jing press his hand on the restriction. The restriction rippled, and another door appeared out of thin air. Xing Feng fiercely slapped his head, only then did he remember, wasn't the restriction set up by Tang Jing? Of course he had a way to enter. This was a miscalculation. Xing Feng didn't dare to stay. He rushed toward the Tree of Life, afraid that Tang Jing would catch up. Xing Feng, stop right there. Tang Jing roared. Xing Feng immediately ran even faster. Tang Jing had already passed through the restriction. Some of the pursuers also rushed in, but the huge mechas couldn't pass through that door. Tang Jing pointed at the restriction. The door immediately rippled and disappeared in an instant, returning to normal. The majority of the troops were blocked outside the 6 Directions 8 Desolation Formation. Tang Jing didn't have many super soldiers by his side. There was no need for Tang Jing to do anything. Xiao Bai directly turned them into people on fire. Whoosh! Tang Jing rushed to the foot of the Tree of Life, only to find that Xing Feng and the others had disappeared. He looked up and vaguely saw that these people had already climbed up the tree and were hiding in the middle of the Tree of Life. Shit! Don't destroy the Tree of Life. The Tree of Life had an important mission. Not only was it improving the air quality of the world and providing more abundant spiritual energy, but more importantly, it was secretly absorbing the energy of the Ghost Festival, turning the human world from a small world into a large world. That way, it could avoid destruction. This was a secret that no one else knew about. Therefore, Tang Jing could not let anyone else discover this secret, and he could not let Xing Feng ruin this huge plan. Halt! Tang Jing roared. Like a gecko, he pushed off the ground with the tip of his foot and quickly chased after them along the tree trunk. When Xing Feng saw the pursuing soldiers, he ordered loudly, "Stop him!" Whoosh! 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 More than 10 super soldiers turned around and faced Tang Jing, as if they weren't afraid of death. Tang Jing's strength was much higher than theirs. So many people couldn't stop him just now, let alone these 10 small fries. With a flash of sword light, he raised his hand and swung his sword down. The dozen or so super soldiers fell off the tree one after another. The Tree of Life was too dense. In an instant, the figures of Xing Feng and the others disappeared. No one knew where they were hiding. Tang Jing panicked, thinking that he had to find them as soon as possible. Therefore, he moved through the Tree of Life. Xing Feng and the others hid under a branch. A piece of equipment had been installed. The scientists were frightened, but they were also excited as they fiddled with the equipment. They whispered, "We're ready." Xing Feng's eyes lit up. He couldn't hide his excitement as he urged, "Then what are you waiting for? Let's get started." Yes. The equipment was activated. A shiny drill came out of the equipment and nailed into the tree trunk. It fiercely drilled down. This equipment was specially made for the Tree of Life. In the past, their research on the Tree of Life had been stagnant. They couldn't even take out a part of the Tree of Life for research. The bark of the Tree of Life was too hard. It was impossible to penetrate. Recently, they finally developed a new material that was very hard. They were confident that they could break through the bark and enter the Tree of Life. They could extract the essence of the Tree of Life for research. The Tree of Life contained such a strong life force. The tree trunk must have an even stronger life force. The mysteries hidden in it might be solved after analysis. As expected, the drill rubbed against the bark for a while. A hole appeared in the bark, and the drill quickly drilled into the heart of the tree. A stream of juice emerged from the drill bit. This juice was incomparably fragrant, causing one to feel refreshed and refreshed. Spirit Array. Xing Feng trembled in excitement. He dipped his finger in the juice and licked it. Boom! His taste buds seemed to explode. An indescribable feeling instantly spread throughout his body. The exhaustion from running for his life disappeared and his body was filled with endless energy. This is too amazing. This juice must be the essence of the Tree of Life. The mysteries contained within are hard to estimate. He dipped his finger in the juice and placed it in his mouth. Immediately, he closed his eyes and felt like he was floating in the air. Could it be that I can become an immortal after drinking this? He excitedly thought. There's a result. The scientists cheered. They pointed at the equipment and said, "Our equipment integrates mining and analysis. We have roughly analyzed this juice. It contains all kinds of rich nutrients and is thousands of times better than any supplement in the world. Moreover, it can be directly consumed. It has countless benefits to the body. The life force it contains can even bring the dead back to life. It is like the legendary nectar. Nectar. Xing Feng was so excited that his eyes almost popped out. Could it be that after drinking it, I can become immortal? The legendary nectar of the gods did have this effect, but it was only a legend. No one had seen it with their own eyes. We can't be sure. With a cautious attitude, the scientists didn't dare to say anything. After all, this was beyond the scope of their knowledge, but there is no doubt that this is very beneficial to the human body. Quick, quick, quick. I want to extract more juice. Xing Feng rubbed his palms together. He couldn't wait to drink more juice. Immortality was a delicacy that countless people yearned for even in their dreams. Someone like Xing Feng, who was blinded by greed, was naturally no exception. The equipment started to operate. Little bits of juice were extracted from the tree of life and gathered in a small bottle. The liquid was transparent and exuded a mysterious fragrance. Before the bottle was full, Xing Feng couldn't wait to break it open and put it into his mouth. The others looked at him enviously. They also wanted to have a taste. They didn't know what it would taste like. Shwa! Suddenly, a sword light passed through the dense leaves and slashed at Xing Feng. Tang Jing appeared. He followed the fragrance and chased after them. He also heard their conversation and immediately realized the importance of this juice. How could he let Xing Feng succeed? He multitasked. While controlling the sword to attack Xing Feng, he kicked the equipment fiercely. With a clang, the equipment broke and fell down the tree. The scientists were powerless and didn't dare to stop Tang Jing. They all ran to the side, afraid that they would be implicated. Tang Jing saw the small hole in the tree trunk. The hole was shrinking at a speed visible to the naked eye. Then, it healed as if it had never been there. All of this happened very quickly. If not for Tang Jing's superior eyesight, he wouldn't have noticed. Tang Jing had seen the vampire's ability to heal wounds, but the Tree of Life's healing speed was faster. It was an eye-opener for him. He didn't have time to sigh as he focused on dealing with Xing Feng. The War Soul Sword chased after Xing Feng, leaving him no time to drink the juice in his hand. He was unable to restrain his anger and roared, "Tang Jing, you're really haunting me. I'll cut you into 10,000 pieces." Tang Jing disdainfully said, "Now that you don't have your lackeys to help you, let's see how you'll escape. Obediently accept your death. In your dreams." Xing Feng flew into a rage. Tang Jing was too lazy to waste words with him. He leaped up and grabbed the War Soul Sword. Then, he increased the power of his attack, causing Xing Feng to be in danger. His body was already covered with many wounds and blood flowed out. Xing Feng tried to drink the juice several times, but in the end, he was unable to succeed. Tang Jing had been staring at the bottle of juice the entire time, and with another swift and fierce sword move, he forced the opponent into a dead end, making it impossible for him to dodge. With a stretch of his hand, he snatched the bottle from the opponent's hand. "Give it back to me." Xing Feng let out a heart-wrenching roar as if he had gone mad. He actually risked being stabbed by the War Soul Sword and narrowly escaped death. Tang Jing glanced at the juice. The fragrance assailed his nostrils, making him feel refreshed. He didn't consume it immediately. The juice from the Tree of Life must have many mysteries. He wouldn't drink it so impatiently. With a flash of light on his wrist, the bottle was put away into Sumra world. Seeing this, Xing Feng's eyes were about to explode. His eyes were about to spit fire. "I'm going to kill you. You're going to die without a burial ground." Xing Feng roared. He took out a needle and stabbed it into his heart. Did he want to commit suicide? Tang Jing was confused. He watched as Xing Feng's expression became more and more ferocious, like a beast that wanted to eat people. "Ah!" Xing Feng suddenly faced the sky and let out a heart-wrenching roar. His body rapidly expanded. What's going on? Tang Zhang looked at Xing Feng with a strange expression. His heart moved. He immediately guessed that the thing that was injected into his body must have taken effect. He actually transformed. He just didn't know what it was that could cause such a change. Chapter 807. Seeing that Battle's soul was about to pierce Xing Feng, the muscles on Xing Feng's body swelled up, tearing through his clothes and growing a lot of hair. 2 horns grew out of his head and his cheeks became extremely sinister. He no longer looked like a human but more like a beast. Pooh! Battle's soul pierced into his skin but was unable to penetrate deeply. Then, it was slapped back. Tang Zhang looked at the other party in shock and said, "What did you inject into yourself?" GGA. Xing Feng's laughter was sharp and strange. His pupils emitted a dim light as he said proudly, "This is the genetic medicine that our dragon group recently developed. This is the combination of human and demon genes. It is a great invention, but it has not been put into practice yet. Today, I will let you witness the performance of this medicine." Genetic medicine. Tang Zhang's eyelids twitched. He knew that super soldiers were the result of genetic modification, which was why they could be modified in batches. Obviously, the genetic medicine that Xing Feng injected this time was even more powerful. It had almost turned him from a human into a beast and his strength had greatly increased. Tang Zhang, die. After you die, I will extract all of the sap from the tree of life. After consuming it, I will become even stronger. I will become the ruler of this world. Who cares if it's the leader, Huaxia, or the Atlantic Empire? I will make all of them submit to me and listen to my orders. If they dare to disobey, then they will die. Xing Feng said crazily. Tang Zhang's heart trembled. Xing Feng's ambition was so great that he did not put the country in his eyes and even wanted to take the whole world for himself. Crazy. Too crazy. If he was allowed to escape today and create more super soldiers like him, then the world would be in chaos even without the demon race. Tang Zhang could not help but rejoice. If he followed the official rules and waited for a period of time to deal with Xing Feng, then he would have already made preparations. Who knows how many super soldiers he would create? How could the country deal with him then? Wishful thinking. Tang Zhang shouted and once again attacked with his sword. Xing Feng's strength had increased greatly, and he was not at a disadvantage. A pair of sharp claws clashed with the battle soul, creating sparks. Tang Zhang's heart gradually sank. A single dose of genetic medicine could make an ordinary martial artist so powerful. The other party had at least reached the 3rd level of the supreme power realm. This was too heaven-defying. Even though Tang Zhang's cultivation speed was extremely fast, he had never heard of such a terrifying thing. This was the power of technology. He was afraid that the demon race would have a headache facing such a situation. However, Xing Feng was no longer a normal human being. He had turned into a wild beast. His threat to humans was no less than that of demons. The two of them were locked in battle as they slowly flew towards the top of the tree. Although Xiao Bai was strong, he was not of much use at the moment. This was because the tree of life might be in danger if it spat out flames, and Tang Zhang definitely wouldn't take this risk. A moment later, the two of them arrived at the top of the tree of life. They were already several hundred meters in the air. The battle soul had opened many wounds on Xing Feng's body, but there were no fatal injuries. Therefore, although he was only at the 3rd level of the supreme power realm, his skin was thick and his resistance to attacks was strong. Therefore, his strength was far beyond the 3rd level of the supreme power realm. This was why he was able to compete with Tang Zhang. Whoosh whoosh. The two of them passed through the last layer of branches and leaves and flew up to the top of the tree. The scene in front of them suddenly became very open. However, both of them were attracted by another figure. A woman in a Taoist robe stood on the top of the tree with her eyes closed in deep thought, as if the two of them didn't exist. Yan Qingyi. Tang Zheng was shocked. He didn't expect her to really come to the Tree of Life. Xing Feng finally remembered the figure he saw on the plane who broke through the restriction. At such a close distance, he finally recognized the other party. Yan Qingyi, it's actually you. Xing Feng's ear-piercing voice rang out as he pointed at Yan Qingyi. His eyes were filled with killing intent. Yan Qingyi turned a deaf ear to him and didn't even bat an eyelid. Tang Zheng's heart skipped a beat. He knew that Xing Feng must be using a prophecy. Furthermore, Xing Feng had specially come to the Tree of Life from the capital in an attempt to help the prophecy. Seeing that she was in a daze, Tang Zheng didn't dare to let Xing Feng disturb her too much. Thus, he tapped the tip of his foot, and the branch under his feet bent like a fully drawn bow and shot at Xing Feng. Xing Feng curled his lips in disdain and attacked again. The heavenly flying immortal sword technique focused on elegance and ease, as if an immortal had descended to the mortal world. On the other hand, Xing Feng was a big guy who focused on strength and accuracy. Therefore, the two's fighting styles were very different. Seeing that it was difficult to determine the winner, Tang Zheng put away the battle soul and took out the true heaven bow and shooting sun arrows. Xing Feng had seen the power of this divine armament before, and his face suddenly changed as he said, "You actually still have this kind of arrow? I didn't use it all for you in the ocean back then." Tang Zheng snorted. Back then, when he was dealing with the demon clan, he had lost the shooting sun arrows, which made him feel extremely regretful. After dozens of days, wanting to find them back was like looking for a needle in a haystack. It's a pity that this kind of divine weapon is in your hands. As long as I can snatch that bow, I can create even more divine weapons. Xing Feng said in high spirits. You still want to copy my heaven-shocking bow and shooting sun arrows? You are truly delusional. Really? Let me tell you, your shooting sun arrows are in my hands. I have already sent people to study them. Do you really think that with how advanced technology is now, you really can't create a similarly powerful one? Xing Feng asked in ridicule. Tang Zheng was shocked and said, "My shooting sun arrows are in your hands." Of course, back then, I spent a lot of effort to fish them out from the sea. Xing Feng said complacently. However, Tang Zheng was extremely excited. He originally thought that he had lost the shooting sun arrows forever, but he never thought that he would regain it. Immediately, he looked at Xing Feng as if he had seen his prey, and the corners of his mouth couldn't help but curl up. Without a doubt, it was impossible to force him to reveal the whereabouts of the shooting sun arrows. The only way was to use the soul-searching technique. Moreover, there were definitely many secrets in his mind, so he couldn't miss this opportunity. Therefore, Tang Zheng couldn't kill him directly with one strike. He needed to control him first so that he could use the soul-searching technique. Of course, Xing Feng didn't just have so many ideas in Tang Zheng's mind, he was still immersed in joy. Of course, he also knew that Tang Zheng was a difficult person to deal with. However, when he saw Yan Qingyi who had his eyes tightly closed, his heart moved. Since the Yan family and Tang Zheng were so close, why not kill Yan Qingyi first and let the world know the consequences of going against him? Bang! He stomped heavily on the treetop and leaped forward, pouncing towards Yan Qingyi. His sharp claws gleamed with a cold light. Yan Qingyi, who didn't even have the strength to truss a chicken, would be torn into pieces if he were to be struck by those claws. Tang Zheng understood this very well, and hurriedly shouted, "Yan Qingyi, be careful." Yan Qingyi was indifferent and didn't open her eyes. She was like an old monk in meditation, and external things couldn't wake her at all. Tang Zheng turned pale with fright and screamed at the top of his lungs, "Run!" At the same time, Xing Feng's attack was already in front of Yan Qingyi. Tang Zheng wanted to save her, but he was half a beat too late. Xing Feng was immensely complacent. At such a close distance, he was determined to win. As long as he killed Yan Qingyi, the world wouldn't dare to go against him. Suddenly, Xing Feng's expression changed greatly, as he looked at Yan Qingyi in disbelief. Because his attack actually missed at the last moment. Yan Qingyi closed her eyes, and with a slight movement of her feet, her body moved a small step to the side, and easily avoided his attack. Moreover, her eyes were still closed. This kind of exquisite dodging action, he had never seen before. Moreover, Yan Qingyi didn't have any martial arts skills. Lucky, she must be lucky. I can't be scared by her. Xing Feng took a deep breath, and secretly comforted himself. He immediately changed his attack route, and attacked Yan Qingyi's vital points. Like drawing a ladle, Yan Qingyi once again dodged the attack as if he was drawing a ladle. This. Xing Feng was dumbstruck. The first time was a coincidence, but the second time was definitely not a coincidence. What was going on? He was sure that Yan Qingyi's body did not have any energy fluctuations. He was not a martial artist, nor was he a cultivator. This was a well-known fact, but how could she easily avoid his attack? Tang Jing couldn't help but be astonished. Yan Qingyi's reaction was too dazzling, and he couldn't help but gasp in admiration. Xing Feng's double attack missed, and he wanted to continue attacking, but Tang Jing had already appeared behind him. With a "soot" sound, the shooting sun arrow shot out, and went straight for his back. Ho! Xing Feng unwillingly roared, and jumped up, attempting to escape. But Yan Qingyi actually stretched out her hand, and grabbed his leg. He subconsciously stopped, and looked down. Pooh! The shooting sun arrow fiercely shot into his waist, and blood splattered. He cried out in pain. He originally had the chance to snatch the shooting sun arrow, but Yan Qingyi's timely move caused his movements to suddenly stop, and then he took the arrow. This scene caused him to be puzzled. He was both angry and frightened. Because all of this was strange, as if Yan Qingyi could predict his actions in advance, as if everything was under her control. This made Xing Feng very uneasy, and he only wanted to get away from Yan Qingyi. The feeling she gave him was even more terrifying than Tang Jing. He punched towards Yan Qingyi, but Yan Qingyi slightly tilted her body, dodged, and released her hand. Xing Feng finally escaped, and without caring about the pain, he tried to escape. But Tang Jing had already blocked his path, and the other shooting sun arrow shot into his left chest at lightning speed. The two shooting sun arrows from the front and back caused him to abruptly stop running, and with a put-on sound, he fell onto the treetop. Tang Zhang's eyes were sharp, and his hands were fast. The war soul sword immediately pressed against his head, and shouted, "Don't move." Xing Feng grimaced, and angrily said, "Tang Jing, I am not willing to fall into your hands." Tang Jing coldly laughed, and said, "The winner is the king, the loser is the thief. So what if you are not willing? You have done many evil deeds, and today is the day you die. All of this is wrong. It's all because of her that I fell into your hands." Xing Feng pointed at Yan Qingyi, puzzled. Chapter 808. Yan Qingyi slightly nodded towards Tang Jing, then looked at Xing Feng expressionlessly and said, "The reason why you are here today is not because of others, but because you brought it upon yourself. Your ambition has harmed you." Xing Feng's face stiffened as he roared, "Stinking woman, what do you know?" Yan Qingyi shook her head, "You still refuse to realize your mistake. Your fate is already sealed. Your life has already come to an end. You dare to kill me?" Xing Feng was shocked. Yan Qingyi was silent. Tang Jing jokingly laughed, "If I didn't want to kill you, why would I spend so much effort to chase you here? The country will not let you go. Is that so?" Hee, I don't think so. The country may not fully understand your actions. As long as they understand your ambition, then you really deserve to die." Xing Feng's eyes rolled as he tried to escape. However, he found that there were sun shooting arrows in front of him and war soul sword on his head. There was nowhere to run. Tang Jing, don't you want your arrow? If you let me go, I will return it to you. Otherwise, you will never find it. Xing Feng threatened. There is no need for you to speak. With that, Tang Jing grabbed his head and used the soul-searching technique. Let go of me. Let go of me. What are you doing? Xing Feng screamed at the top of his lungs. Tang Jing turned a deaf ear to him. Countless complex information flashed through his mind, revealing all his secrets. Xing Feng's screams finally stopped. Even his body had changed. His body was rapidly shrinking and his cheeks had returned to human form. However, his face was full of wrinkles as if he had aged 30 years in an instant. Moreover, the lush hair did not disappear. Side effects. Tang Jing immediately came to the conclusion. The genetic medicine that Xing Feng had taken had many side effects. Although it could temporarily increase his fighting strength, the damage to his body was too great. At this moment, after the effects of the medicine had passed, he had become neither human nor ghost. It was especially terrifying. His eyes had lost their luster and he was still muttering, "I am the most powerful person in the world. I am the number one in the world. Everyone has to listen to me." Tang Jing shook his head. He had completely lost himself. Tang Jing let go of his hand. The wrinkles on Xing Feng's face grew more and more, and they quickly spread to the rest of his body. A gust of wind blew past, and the leaves rustled. The wrinkles also sounded, and they started to crack. The vitality in Xing Feng's eyes was completely cut off. His body also cracked rapidly like a broken porcelain. In the end, with a cracking sound, he turned into bits that filled the sky and dissipated with the wind. Tang Jing looked at this scene in shock. This definitely wasn't the effect of the soul search technique, but the side effect of the genetic medicine that had caused Xing Feng's death. Tang Jing did not pity him at all and coldly said, "You reap what you sow, you only have yourself to blame." Yan Qingyi didn't seem to be surprised at all. Her eyes were incomparably indifferent, as if she had already known this would happen. "Seeing it with my own eyes is more realistic than my predictions," Yan Qingyi said lightly. Tang Zhang's heart stirred. He asked, "You predicted his death?" Yan Qingyi nodded. "Just now, I was standing on top of the tree. When I closed my eyes, I saw this scene. Everything was predestined. He can't escape." Tang Jing came to a sudden realization. No wonder she was so indifferent. Could it be that you also predicted his attack just now? Yes. Ever since I stood on top of the tree, the power of my prophecy technique has greatly increased. Not only can I predict the future, but I can also predict what will happen next. As such, I can accurately dodge his attack." Tang Zhang was dumbfounded. This was the power of prophecy technique. Not only could it predict the future, but it could also predict what would happen in the next second. With this kind of foresight, it would be harder than ascending to the heavens for Xing Feng to attack her. After all, she could take the initiative to dodge, causing her opponent's attack to miss. Tang Jing imagined that if he had this ability, then wouldn't he be heaven-defying in battle? Perhaps even people several levels higher than him might not be his match. Immediately, he couldn't help but look at Yan Qingyi in a new light. He gave her a thumbs up and sincerely praised, "You really are too amazing." Yan Qingyi said with a bit of disappointment, "This ability can only be achieved by standing on top of the tree and connecting with the aura of the tree of life." "Is that so?" Tang Zhang was greatly disappointed. How can everything in this world go according to one's wishes? This time I have already gained a lot. It turns out that the tree of life really can promote the use of prophecy technique. I have been working here for so long, but I still didn't discover this secret. Yan Qingyi said with regret. The tree of life can actually help your prophecy technique. Tang Zheng was overjoyed. Then did you predict the specific situation of the end of the world? Yan Qingyi nodded. There were a few more fragments. It turns out that when the demon race gathered at the snowy mountain, their original intention was not to besiege you, but to escape from this world. You seem to be preventing them from escaping from this world. Tang Zheng was greatly shocked. This was too different from the prophecy she had said before. Yan Qingyi also clearly understood this point. She said with some embarrassment, my previous prophecy techniques saw too few scenes, so my speculations may have been a bit off. Tang Zheng nodded and said, since you said that the demon race was escaping from this world, then why? Could it be because of the scene of the end of the world that you saw? Yan Qingyi nodded. Some of the scenes that I saw this time did indicate that the end of the world had arrived. The scene of the end of the world was even more terrifying than what I said last time. I guess that the demon race definitely knew that this world was going to end, so they wanted to escape. Moreover, they wanted to climb the stone stairs behind you. Tang Zheng suddenly understood. The creation of the world was successful, so the demon race definitely wanted to use the heaven stairway to escape from this world. Didn't that mean that they had returned to the sky beyond heaven? The demon race racked their brains to return to the human world, but they wanted to go back to the sky beyond heaven. All their efforts were for naught. It seems that I am preventing them from returning to the sky beyond heaven. Actually, that's right. The demon race is the root of the problem. If they return to the sky beyond heaven, they will definitely stir up trouble again. It's better to stay in this world and perish together with this world. Tang Zheng thought silently. But there seemed to be something extremely terrifying at the end of the stone stairs. It made the demon race shrink back, and instead, they fled. Yan Qingyi added. Tang Zheng's head thumped, and he asked, what is at the end of the stone stairs? Did you see it this time? Yan Qingyi shook her head regretfully. It was too blurry, I couldn't see it clearly. But I saw something else. What? The tree of life shone brilliantly, and then, the world returned to peace. The scene of the end of the world completely disappeared. Yan Qingyi couldn't help but look at the tree of life below her feet and say. Tang Zheng pondered for a moment, and said, so, in the end, the thing that restored the world to its original state was the tree of life. And if it wasn't me, then I am not the savior. This. Yan Qingyi hesitated, not knowing how to answer. In the past, she had solemnly declared that Tang Zheng was the savior, but now it seemed that it was all a misunderstanding. The thing that saved the world was actually the tree of life, which meant that there was no savior at all. Tang Zheng smiled as if relieved of a burden. He didn't want to be the savior in the first place, and since it was all a misunderstanding, he felt relieved. Yan Qingyi looked at Tang Zheng awkwardly, and said, although I can't confirm the savior point, you resisted the demon race with your own strength, so you are still the hero of this world. Tang Zheng didn't deny it, and said, I don't care whether I am a hero or not, as long as this world isn't destroyed. But, did you predict what would cause the end of the world? Yan Qingyi shook her head guiltily. I didn't predict it. There were too many uncertain factors during the end of the world, so Tang Zheng didn't think too much about it, because any deviation could lead to wrong conclusions, such as saying that he was the savior. Tang Zheng, don't be sad, maybe I didn't see enough, you are still the savior, because, in the unseen world, I feel that you are extremely important to this world. Tang Zheng waved his hand, and said, there's no need to say any more, I don't want to be the savior. However, since the tree of life can make your prophecy more accurate, then if you stay here, won't you be able to predict more things? No, only after I comprehend more Tao's will my prophecy be able to improve even more. Then, with the help of the tree of life, I will be able to predict even more. So, staying here is useless. Tang Zheng felt regretful, and said, so that's how it is, then let's leave this place. Come to my war soul sword, let's go down the tree first. Yan Qingyi stood on the war soul sword. In order to ensure her safety, Tang Jing hugged her waist from behind, and through the robe, he could still clearly feel the astonishing elasticity inside. Yan Qingyi lowered her head and looked, only to see a few hundred meters in the air, causing her to feel dizzy. "Close your eyes, or look forward, don't look down," Tang Jing warned. Yan Qingyi took a deep breath and looked forward. At this height of a few hundred meters, the scenery was exceptionally beautiful. The scenery of the sky and the earth could be seen, especially the desert in the distance. It was exceptionally beautiful under the sunlight, causing one to feel relaxed and happy. The war soul sword landed steadily on the ground. The two of them jumped off the war soul sword, only to discover that there were people standing both inside and outside the restriction. The few scientists who had escaped were anxiously sticking to the restriction, and when they saw Tang Jing and Yan Qingyi, they were so scared that their faces turned pale, their legs went soft, and they sat down on the ground. Outside the restriction, there were many super warriors. However, their expressions were no longer as fierce as before. Instead, they looked at Tang Jing with fear in their eyes. This was because they had already seen the scene on the treetop from afar. Their leader had died. Without a leader, although these people's fighting strength was not bad, they had already become jackals of the same tribe and were nothing to worry about. Tang Jing walked to the edge of the restriction and pressed down on it. Ripples spread out and the door appeared again, but no one dared to cross the line and barge in. Chapter 809. Everyone looked at Tang Jing in shock. Tang Jing indifferently swept his eyes over the crowd, causing them to continuously retreat, their faces turning pale with fright. "Xing Feng is already dead. If you dare to help the tiger and commit crimes, then Xing Feng will be your end." Scram! A loud and clear shout caused people's hearts to tremble. No one dared to resist as they all retreated. Without a leader, they became a motley crew. The few scientists trembled as they exited the barrier. Tang Jing waved his hand and the barrier returned to normal. No one was able to pass through this barrier. "Come to my sword. I will escort you back to the capital," Tang Jing invited. Looking at the thin war spirit sword, Yan Qingyi hesitated for a moment, but still stood on it. Although men and women were not clear, moreover, she was a monk. It was not good for her to be hugged by Tang Jing like this. But she had no choice. If she wanted to leave the desert, flying was the best way. The two of them stepped on the flying sword and left the desert, returning to the capital. The air in the capital was filled with a chilling aura, causing people's hearts to involuntarily tighten. Yan Qingyi's brows trembled as she asked, "What happened?" Tang Jing indifferently said, "I'm afraid this has something to do with my actions these past few days." Yan Qingyi worriedly said, "Xing Feng is after all an official. If you kill him like this, how will you explain it to the officials?" Tang Jing did not mind and said, "I have my own plans. I'd like to hear the details." Yan Qingyi looked at him with a burning gaze. "Xing Feng is a wolf with wild ambitions. He actually had evil intentions and wanted to rebel. This is a serious crime. I have already obtained all the information and presented it to the officials. They will naturally know what is more important," Tang Jing said confidently. "Rebel?" Yan Qingyi was shocked. Xing Feng's guts are actually this big. His guts are indeed not small. Normal people wouldn't even dare to imagine such a thing. But he controls such a powerful force like the Dragon Group, which is why he has second thoughts. Power is a very harmful thing. Tang Jing sighed. Yan Qingyi's hanging heart finally settled back into his stomach. He nodded in relief and said, "That's for the best. A gentleman does not stand under a dangerous wall. There is no need to put yourself in danger because of Xing Feng." Tang Jing smiled noncommittally. In fact, sometimes it was inevitable to take risks in order to achieve a goal. This time, he was taking a risk. However, the final result was still not too bad. He had obtained too much useful information from Xing Feng's mind, and there was no lack of dark histories of some big shots. However, what attracted him the most was Xing Feng's plan. Xing Feng was actually blinded by greed. His ego was inflated and he wanted to rebel. He wasn't just thinking about it. He was already putting it into practice. Under the guise of the dragon group, Xing Feng's true actions were concealed. He had actually secretly created quite a number of mechas and trained many men of sacrifice. These men of sacrifice only listened to his orders. Furthermore, he even had spies in the inner palace. As long as the time was right, the loyalists would assassinate the country's leaders. Then, he would usurp the throne and replace it. Tang Jing couldn't help but admire Xing Feng's madness. As long as the government knew of his plot, he would definitely die. It was like dancing on a steel wire. Tang Jing already had all this solid evidence in his hands. As long as the government saw this, they would definitely not pursue his actions. He had accidentally gotten rid of such a hidden danger. The government should be secretly happy. As for the dirty deeds of those high-ranking officials, Tang Jing would show them all. These social parasites held high positions and squeezed the wealth of the people. This was the greatest damage and blasphemy to the country. Seeing that Tang Jing had already thought of a way out, Yan Qingyi knew that she was worrying too much. Thus, she bid farewell and left. Tang Jing wasn't in a hurry to go home. Instead, he went to the dragon group's base in the outskirts. He saw that the originally deserted base was surrounded by layers upon layers of countless soldiers. Tang Zhang's head thumped. Could it be that such a large number of soldiers were guarding the base because he had caused a ruckus in the base? However, these people couldn't stop him. He quietly went down to the base. However, he found that the base was bustling with activity. All kinds of equipment and resources were being packed and evacuated. He ignored them and ran straight to his destination. After a while, he came to a hidden wall. He stretched out his hand and a row of boxes popped out from the wall. He was delighted. This was the information he had obtained from the soul-searching technique. The shooting sun arrows that the dragon group had salvaged were hidden here. That was why he had snuck into the base. It's empty. Suddenly, he saw that the cabinet was empty. The items were nowhere to be found. He was shocked. He flew into a rage. Where are my shooting sun arrows? Your shooting sun arrows have been taken away. A gloomy voice came from behind him. Tang Jing was shocked. There was actually someone who had silently appeared behind him, but he was completely unaware of it, which meant that the other party's power was not ordinary. He suddenly turned around and saw an ordinary person. He had a normal face and eyes without any sharpness. If this person was thrown into a crowd, no one would notice him. He was too ordinary. However, Tang Jing didn't dare to be careless. This was because the other party could silently stand 3 meters behind him. Just based on this point, Tang Jing didn't dare to underestimate him. Who are you? Number 2. Number 2. Tang Jing had never heard of this name. He couldn't help but be surprised. A name is just a code. Number 2 said indifferently. You said that the shooting sun arrows have been taken away. Where are they now? Tang Jing asked. The leader wants to see you. Number 2 said without answering the question. Tang Zhang's eyelids jumped. You are an expert from the inner palace. Number 2 didn't say anything. He turned around and left. Tang Jing was sure that the other party was an expert from the inner palace. Previously, when he was in the inner palace, he sensed several powerful auras. This person was probably one of them. At that time, Number 2's aura was fully released. Therefore, he could easily sense the other party's presence. The other party also used this aura to intimidate people so that they didn't dare to act rashly. At this time, number 2 left the inner palace. His aura was completely hidden. He was no different from an ordinary person. Seeing that the other party didn't want to say more, Tang Jing quickly followed him. The shooting sun arrows must have fallen into the hands of the leader. Moreover, he sent people to wait here. That means that he knew that Tang Jing would definitely appear here. As expected of the leader, his plan was flawless. Since he summoned him, Tang Jing naturally wouldn't refuse. After all, he still had to tell the other party about Xing Feng's scheme. After a few minutes, Tang Jing once again arrived at the mysterious courtyard. 2 powerful auras were firmly locked onto him. He was sure that there were 2 other experts here. They were eyeing him with hostility. Therefore, they didn't hesitate to release their auras to intimidate Tang Jing. It was as if they were telling him not to act rashly. Tang Jing's various actions had made these people feel like they were facing a great enemy. They classified him as an unstable factor and must be fully on guard against him. Tang Jing was magnanimous and didn't care at all. He followed number 2 into the leader's study. In his heart, he was speculating about how many experts were hidden in the inner palace. The great families had always thought highly of themselves. Many of them were arrogant and didn't even put the government in their eyes. Now, it seemed that they weren't so optimistic. The government had been accumulating for so many years and had a deep foundation. They weren't any weaker than the great families. With this new understanding, Tang Jing had to re-evaluate the government. They had always shown weakness to the outside world and deceived many people. This state of showing weakness to the enemy was bound to change and restore the country's prestige and dignity. In this process, someone was bound to suffer. It was just that he didn't know who it would be. Number 2 brought Tang Jing in and then respectfully retreated, closing the door behind him. Tang Jing looked up and saw the leader standing in front of the window. He was silent as he looked at the clouds in the sky. "Leader, why did you summon me?" Tang Jing asked straightforwardly. The leader slowly turned around and opened a box on the table. A few shooting sun arrows lay quietly inside. Tang Jing's eyelids twitched. These were all the shooting sun arrows he had prepared for the ceremony. They had all fallen into the hands of the leader. The leader tapped the wooden box a few times and said, "You have done many shocking things during this period of time. What are your thoughts? Let's talk about it." "Good kill." Tang Jing thought for a while and simply spat out 3 words. The leader raised his thick eyebrows, clearly unhappy. He said coldly, "You killed someone and yet you dare to say it's good. Where is the law? The law protects good people, not evil people. In my opinion, if evil people don't die, more good people will be hurt." Humph, twisting words and forcing logic. Is it up to you to decide whether someone is a bad person or not? The leader slammed the table and asked angrily. Tang Jing didn't change his expression and said lightly, "It's not up to me. It's up to a righteous heart. Xing Feng's actions, as long as it's a righteous person, they can naturally judge whether he's good or bad." Seeing that Tang Jing didn't listen to him, the leader got even angrier. Even now, he still didn't repent and was full of sophistry, challenging his nerves. Tang Jing acted as if he didn't see the leader's reaction and said directly, "Listen to me for a while. You can also judge whether Xing Feng is good or bad." Without waiting for the leader to reply, Tang Jing directly talked about Xing Feng's schemes. He even mentioned the place where he trained his men of sacrifice and hid his mechas. The leader's expression gradually changed. His anger seemed to be about to rush out of his head. After listening to Tang Jing, he finally couldn't hold it in anymore. He slammed the table and roared angrily, "Death can't wipe out his crimes, death can't wipe out his crimes." Tang Jing's lips unknowingly curled up into a smile. He looked at the leader with a half-smile. The leader ignored his mocking expression and asked, "Is all of this true? Don't you already have an answer in your heart?" Tang Jing shrugged and said. Indeed, the leader already had an answer in his heart. These things couldn't be fabricated. He just needed to check to know whether it was true or false. Tang Jing wouldn't be so stupid as to use this kind of thing to deceive him. Chapter 8:10. Tang Jing looked at the bureau chief quietly and added, Xing Feng's actions are not only limited to this, he also has an unclear relationship with the Atlantic Empire's Rockefeller family. The bureau chief's face was ashen, his hands clenched into fists, his veins popping out. With so many crimes, Xing Feng could already be judged to be an extremely evil person. To think that he actually trusted him and even handed over the National Security Bureau and Dragon Group to him. If it wasn't for Tang Jing stopping him in time, the consequences would be too late for him to regret. He looked deeply at Tang Jing with a complicated expression. He pushed the shooting sun arrow forward and said, even though Xing Feng has committed a heinous crime, your actions have no sense of discipline at all. If there is a next time, I will not sit by and do nothing. There will be no next time. Hearing this, Tang Jing smiled confidently. This was the outcome he had expected. He kept the shooting sun arrow and said, thank you. Calm down from now on. The bureau chief warned. I have never been a person who likes to stir up trouble. Is that so? Then what is going on between you and the Song family? This is the capital, stability is the overall situation. I don't want to see a chaotic situation. Tang Jing said calmly, the Song family is different from others. They are already my enemy. If I don't retaliate, then they will kill me. There are no irreconcilable conflicts in this world. As long as both sides sit together and negotiate, there will always be a solution. The bureau chief said earnestly. Tang Jing said disapprovingly, that may not be so. The Song family has long wanted to kill me. If I let them go, then won't others do the same? Anyway, if I do nothing even if they find out, then won't I become a living target for many people? The bureau chief's expression was serious. He said sternly, then you don't agree. Forgive me for not being able to comply. Tang Jing cupped his hands and said resolutely. The bureau chief stared at him, the veins on the back of his hand bulging. A suppressed anger shrouded Tang Jing's head, as if it could pour down at any time. Tang Jing's expression was calm, as if nothing had happened. Whoosh! After a long while, the bureau chief finally let out a long sigh and said, what I want is the stability and unity of this society, not a state of disunity. So, that's all I have to say. Take care of yourself. Tang Jing's heart skipped a beat. It seemed that the bureau chief had compromised and did not pursue the matter of the Song family. The Song family was too powerful and had many restrictions on the government, making it impossible to implement the decree. This was the power of a big family. Not only could they influence individuals, but they could also influence the policies of a country. Sometimes, the country would have a headache, so they both loved and hated these big families. If there's nothing else, then I'll take my leave. Tang Jing said. The bureau chief waved his hand. Tang Jing turned around and left the courtyard. Creak. The three of them entered and respectfully stopped in front of the bureau chief. The bureau chief looked up at them and said, what is your impression of Tang Jing? Number 2 was among the three of them. One of them was an old man in a green robe, and the other was younger than number 2. The three of them had restrained their aura, but their serious expressions were the same, making one's heart tremble. Among them, the old man was number 1, and the other was number 3. They were the 3 experts in charge of protecting the bureau chief. Hearing the bureau chief's question, number 1 bowed slightly and said, reporting to the bureau chief, Tang Jing has been here several times. We have been observing him silently. According to our observation, his strength is unfathomable. If he wants to win, perhaps the 3 of us can give it a try. The bureau chief raised his eyebrows and his eyelids twitched. He said, "The three of you have to work together to kill him." Yes, this is the conclusion we came to after observing him in secret as well as the results of his battles with other experts. Tang Zheng is a cultivator and has many supernatural abilities that others cannot predict. He can often catch people off guard and cause them to be unable to defend against him. Number 1 said solemnly. Hearing this, the bureau chief lowered his head and pondered. Number 1 wasn't speaking without thinking. This was an authoritative conclusion, and he wouldn't question it. This could only mean that Tang Zheng's strength was beyond his imagination. Seeing this, Number 2 couldn't help but say, "Bureau Chief, in my humble opinion, Tang Zheng is an opponent that we can rope in. We don't have to stand on the opposite side of him." Number 3 refuted disapprovingly. "This person is young and arrogant. The best way to solve this is to get rid of him as soon as possible and prevent future troubles." Number 2 and Number 3 looked at each other. The two of them had been arguing about this for a long time, and they both insisted on their own views. The bureau chief waved his hand and said decisively, "No need to say any more. Let's observe first. It's too early to make a conclusion." "Yes." The three of them nodded. When Tang Zheng returned home, he chatted with the women for a while and then returned to his room. With the previous experience, when he chased after Xing Feng this time, he had called them to inform them, so they weren't too worried. He carefully took out the bottle containing the sap from the tree of life. Immediately, a strange fragrance filled the whole room, making people feel refreshed and as if they were floating in the air. Tang Zheng took a deep breath and stared at the bottle. This was what Xing Feng dreamed of, and it was taken from the tree of life. Of course, it wasn't an ordinary thing, but how to use it was a headache. At that time, Xing Feng wanted to drink it directly, but Tang Zheng didn't dare to be so rash. He knew more about the magical aspects of the tree of life than Xing Feng. As for the magical effects of this tree's sap, he still couldn't make a conclusion. Therefore, how to use it to maximize its value was the key. Otherwise, wouldn't it be a great waste to recklessly waste God's gift? He wouldn't take the sap from the tree of life without restraint like Xing Feng, because the tree of life shouldered the heavy responsibility of absorbing the energy of the world of spirits and souls. If taking the sap would affect the tree of life, then the loss would outweigh the gain. Therefore, this bottle of sap was unique and must not be wasted. Bang! Suddenly, the door was pushed open, and the Empyrean fairy rushed in with shining eyes. The others also stood at the door and looked inside curiously. The strange smell had spread throughout the villa, attracting everyone's attention. "What is this? It smells so good." The Empyrean fairy pointed at the bottle and couldn't wait to ask. "The sap from the tree of life." Tang Zheng didn't hide it and told her the truth. "The sap from the tree of life." The Empyrean fairy's face suddenly changed, and sternly reprimanded, "How can you be so crazy to take out the sap from the tree of life? This is draining the pond to catch all the fish, do you know?" Tang Zheng's heart trembled, and anxiously asked, "Draining the pond to catch all the fish, what do you mean? You don't even know the consequences, and you dare to do this, really? The ignorant are fearless." The Empyrean fairy said angrily. "This wasn't taken out by me, it was by someone else." Tang Zheng explained, feeling wronged. "Not you." The Empyrean fairy was startled, "Then who was it?" "Xing Feng." The Empyrean fairy frowned, and said, "Who is he?" Tang Zheng shook his head and said, "It doesn't matter who he is. According to what you said, taking out the sap from the tree of life will have serious consequences. What are the consequences?" The tree of life is related to the spiritual energy and energy of this world. If the sap is taken out, it will affect the function of the tree of life, affect the transformation of the spiritual energy of this world by the tree of life, and even the various magical functions of the tree of life will be affected. Spiritual energy was an important source of energy for a cultivator's cultivation, so if there was a change in spiritual energy, it would be a very serious matter for the cultivator. This was why the Empyrean fairy's reaction was so big. Tang Zheng's heart skipped a beat, faintly feeling uneasy, and nervously asked, "You said that it will affect the various magical functions of the Tree of Life, then will it affect?" Tang Zheng did not finish his words, and hesitated. The Empyrean fairy said unhappily, "If you have something to say, just say it, what are you dawdling for?" He used the Tree of Life to absorb the energy of the ghost realm, increasing the level of this world, and preventing its destruction. This was one of the biggest secrets, and only Tang Zheng knew about it. So, he was weighing the pros and cons, and whether or not to tell the Empyrean fairy. The Empyrean fairy's power is profound, and she lives in this world, so if I tell her, there should be no harm. After all, if this world is destroyed, she won't be able to stay out of it. Tang Zheng silently thought. Thinking of this, he did not hide it, and said, "The world we are in now is a small world, and a small world is in danger of being destroyed at any time. After all, it is only after being promoted to a large world that it will not be destroyed. So, I used the Tree of Life to secretly absorb the energy of the ghost realm, and replenish our world. This is a major matter that concerns the survival of this world." The Empyrean fairy's eyelids jumped, and she looked at him suspiciously, and asked, "Where did you hear about the matter of the large and small worlds?" "Don't use Tian Chanzi to fool me, he would not know about this kind of thing." Tang Zheng was very surprised, even Tian Chanzi did not know about this. This was something he did not expect. Could it be that the secret of the 3,000 large worlds and 9,000 small worlds was the real secret? He learned this from the 5-clawed golden dragon, so it seemed that the dragon clan knew a lot of secrets. The 5-clawed golden dragon was a big secret, and the heaven and earth obsidian was buried under the imperial city, so how could Tang Zheng easily show it to others? So he said vaguely, "Let's talk about this later. First, tell me about the matter of the Tree of Life absorbing the energy of the ghost realm. Will it be affected?" The Empyrean fairy looked at him with burning eyes, and said faintly after a while, "Actually, I don't know either." Tang Zheng did not know whether to laugh or cry. "You don't know either?" The Empyrean fairy said with shame, maybe, it will be affected." Seeing her uncertain look, Tang Zheng shook his head and sighed, and said, "It seems that there is no accurate answer. The Tree of Life is too mysterious, its secrets are not fully known, so I can't make a judgment." The Empyrean fairy added. Chapter 8:11. Looking at the worried face of Tang Zheng, the Empyrean fairy looked at him with a burning gaze and sighed, "You really have a compassionate heart, to actually use the Tree of Life to absorb the energy of the ghost realm for the sake of the lives of other unrelated people in this world. It is a miracle that you can think of this method. Moreover, this is a very risky action. If the ghost realm finds out, then you will definitely become the target of the ghost realm." Tang Zheng smiled bitterly. "I am not as noble as you say, I am also a person of this world. If I don't think for this world, then I will also die." "You have a kind heart, there is no doubt about that." The Empyrean fairy shook her head. "If the Tree of Life is really affected, then your actions towards the ghost realm will be exposed. You have to be careful." Tang Zheng's head trembled. He had seen the strength of the ghost realm, although it was only the tip of the iceberg, but he was sure that the strength of the ghost realm definitely exceeded that of the human world. If the ghost realm were to deal with him, then he would really be in trouble. Seeing Fang Shishir and Marshall also standing at the door, staring at him worriedly, Tang Zheng squeezed out a smile and said, "Don't worry, I am fine, you can leave." He and the Empyrean fairy had many things to discuss. He did not want his women to worry, so he deliberately sent them away. "Fu Yao is already so serious, you still say you are fine?" Fang Shishir said unhappily. "I am really fine, she estimated it to be too serious. You can leave first, I will come find you in a while." Tang Zheng said seriously. Seeing him so insistent, Fang Shishir and Marshall looked at each other. They had no choice but to leave and return to the living room to sit down. The two of them had deep worry between their brows. Finally, Fong Shishir was the first to break the silence and asked, "You have experienced so many things with her, do you know what is going on in the ghost realm?" Marshall shook her head and said, "I also want to ask you, after all, you are also a cultivator." Fong Shishir's two curved eyebrows were tightly knitted together as she said, "I've always been overseas, how would I know about these things? Moreover, look at his attitude, it's obvious that he doesn't want us to know." Wu Ye pondered for a moment and said, "He doesn't want us to worry." Fong Shishir nodded heavily. The two women came to the same answer based on their own judgment. Fong Shishir had long guessed that Tang Jing had an unclear relationship with Marshall, so he was not interested in being jealous. He went straight to the point and asked, "Can you figure out what exactly is going on in the ghost realm? He's so protective of us, we can't just sit around and do nothing." Wu said, "You are very important to him. If you ask him, he will definitely tell you. Aren't you very important to him too?" Fong Shishir blurted out. Marshall was startled, not knowing how to answer. Wasn't this clearly stating their relationship? Although the two of them had a tacit understanding of each other's relationship with Tang Jing, they had never made it clear. As soon as these words were spoken, the atmosphere immediately changed. The two of them fell into silence. At this moment, Tang Jing and the Empyrean fairy were chatting enthusiastically. Tang Jing asked the Empyrean fairy about the ghost realm. The Empyrean fairy did her best to answer one by one. Tang Jing was even more aware of the difference in strength between the ghost realm and the human world. If the ghost realm really knew what he had done, they would probably eliminate him at all costs. Damn that Xing Feng. If he didn't do such a crazy thing, how could it cause such a big trouble in the future? Tang Jing thought indignantly. The ghost realm can find out about this, but you have no way to lead them. The most important thing now is to increase your strength. These juices are very precious things that cannot be exchanged with money. If you use them properly, it will definitely be very beneficial to you. How can I maximize its value? Tang Jing humbly asked for advice. Alchemy. The Empyrean fairy said straightforwardly, refining it into a medicinal pill can maximize its effect. It's better than taking it directly. Tang Jing was overjoyed and said, "Alchemy. What kind of medicinal pill should I refine? This juice contains endless spiritual energy. What's more precious is that it is full of vitality. It is a sacred medicine for healing injuries. It has the miraculous effect of reviving the dead and regrowing flesh and bones. As long as a person still has a breath left, he can definitely be brought back to life. If you are injured in a battle, take the medicinal pill and your injury will be healed, and you will be full of energy again. When you are fighting with a strong enemy, this can turn the tide of the battle and turn defeat into victory." The Empyrean fairy said slowly. Tang Jing was overwhelmed. Through this simple introduction, he understood the importance of this medicinal pill. He couldn't wait to ask, "What kind of medicinal pill is that?" 9 Transformations Resurrection Pill. Tang Jing silently remembered this name. This was the medicinal pill that Tian Chanzi didn't tell him. Without the pill formula, it would be extremely difficult for him to refine it. "Do you have the pill formula?" "Of course." The Empyrean fairy said, "If you don't know the method of alchemy, I can do it for you." Even though this was a very tempting suggestion, Tang Jing still tactfully declined. "I also know some shallow alchemy techniques, so this time I will just embarrass myself." Refining this kind of miraculous medicinal pill was very important for him to train his alchemy skills. How could Tang Jing let go of this great opportunity? Otherwise, if he missed this village, there wouldn't be another shop like this. However, it had been a long time since he last refined a medicinal pill. The 9 Transformations Pill Furnace was almost covered in dust. The 9 Transformations Pill Furnace flew out from Sumer World. It floated in the air and spun rapidly before slowly landing on the ground. 9 Transformations Pill Furnace. the Empyrean fairy called out after a glance. Tang Jing gave a thumbs up and praised, "Amazing, you recognized it at a glance." Why is it only an earth-grade magic treasure? Isn't the 9 transformations pill furnace a heaven-grade magic treasure? The Empyrean fairy curiously asked. When I first obtained the 9 transformations pill furnace, its grade was even lower. This is after it recovered a lot. I speculate that the 9 transformations pill furnace must have been damaged in the past. That's why its grade dropped so much. Tang Jing explained. The Empyrean fairy slightly nodded and said regretfully, "It should be like this. It's just a pity that such an alchemy and tool refining furnace would be lost." Tang Jing didn't care and said, "Since I have already raised its grade, I can also raise it to a heaven-grade magic treasure in the future." The Empyrean fairy chuckled and said, "You are thinking too simply. Is it very difficult? Is it not difficult?" Tang Jing rolled his eyes. He really didn't think it was too difficult. What he lacked was opportunity. As long as he had the opportunity, raising the grade of the 9 transformations pill furnace wouldn't be difficult. "I have a heaven-grade furnace. I can lend it to you to refine this one time," the Empyrean fairy volunteered. Tang Jing shook his head and refused. "Although the 9 transformations pill furnace's grade isn't high, I am already very familiar with it. That's why I still use it. Otherwise, it will rust." The Empyrean fairy didn't insist and said, "I will tell you the pill recipe. When you refine it, I will stand guard at your side." "Okay, thank you." With such an expert protecting him, he would be much more relaxed. The pill recipe wasn't too complicated. There were a few complicated herbs that Tang Jing had already prepared. After all, he had a cheap disciple like the King of Medicine. The King of Medicine had given him many precious herbs and he had put them all in Sumra world. Seeing Tang Jing take out one herb after another, the Empyrean fairy secretly nodded and said, "You are very well prepared. It seems like you often refine pills." Tang Jing blushed with shame and smiled. He hadn't refined pills for a long time and hoped that his technique wasn't too rusty. Otherwise, he would be laughed at by the Empyrean fairy. Actually, the normal 9 transformations soul return pill does not have the effect of reviving the dead or regrowing flesh and bones. However, it is still a sacred medicine for healing injuries. Only with the addition of the tree of life would it possess such miraculous medicinal effects. The mysterious maiden of the 9 heavens explained. Tang Jing was silent. With a flick of his finger, the herbs flew into the 9 transformations pill furnace. The furnace floated up and rotated little by little. Boom! A ball of flame ignited at the tip of Tang Jing's finger. The Empyrean fairy glanced at him and lightly said, "3rd grade true fire, its rank isn't too high." Tang Jing bitterly smiled. His ability was indeed not enough in her eyes, but he wasn't discouraged. He calmly said, "Although its rank isn't high, it's enough." The Empyrean fairy didn't say anything and quietly watched him refine the pill. Tang Jing's technique was very skilled. With a flick of his finger, the 3rd grade true fire fell into the 9 transformations pill furnace. A purple light illuminated the pill furnace. A ball of clear air slowly rose and intertwined above the 9 transformations pill furnace. It rapidly rotated until it was the size of a fist. As more and more clear air accumulated, the medicinal dregs in the pill furnace gradually decreased. In the end, it completely melted and the impurities were burned to ashes by the 3rd grade true fire. The remaining medicinal essence turned into a ball of clear air that spiraled above the pill furnace. Tang Jing was stunned as he looked at the clear air. In the past, when he refined pills, the medicinal essence was in a liquid state and could only spiral inside the 9 transformations pill furnace. But this time, it actually turned into a gaseous state and flew out of the furnace. Every time the clear air rotated, the spiritual energy in the air would be absorbed, increasing its medicinal properties. Tang Jing secretly nodded. This was definitely because his cultivation had greatly increased, so even his alchemy skills had improved. As the saying goes, mastering one method leads to mastering all methods. Cultivation was the foundation of everything. As long as the foundation was solid, then everything else would be easy. The Empyrean fairy finally nodded slightly, acknowledging his alchemy skills. Otherwise, wasting this bottle of liquid would really be a waste of heaven's gift. Add the liquid. The Empyrean fairy reminded. Tang Jing understood, and a line of liquid flew out of the bottle. It was condensed from the liquid and flew straight towards the clear air, rotating along with the clear air. The liquid wrapped around the clear air and permeated it bit by bit until it finally merged with the clear air. Boom! The third-grade true fire inside the alchemy furnace soared into the air and wrapped around them before falling back into the alchemy furnace. A layer of purple light flew out from the alchemy furnace and covered the 9 revolving alchemy furnace like a lid, blocking the line of sight. Tang Jing let out a long breath and clapped his hands. He had finished all the work he could do. All that was left was to refine the 9 transformations pill furnace. The refining process of the 9 transformations soul-returning pill was not done in a short period of time. It required a long time for the medicinal properties of the liquid to be fully displayed. This was the 9 transformations pill furnace's automatic process and did not require manual control.